Wataru Saju reflected on entering high school, anticipating and dreaming about it more than anything. The narrator described Wataru as someone who cares about fashion and easily falls in love with cute girls. Wataru admitted he had a crush on Eika that had lasted for years. Eika told him not to call her by her cute name because it was embarrassing, but Wataru thought she was cute when angry. Wataru recalled confessing to her in middle school and getting rejected, but he studied hard to enroll in the same high school as Eika, still hoping to date her. Eika told him not to make his own inconvenient fantasies, adding that it was creepy he overslept as a high schooler. Wataru thought that Eika could be a caring classmate, though she usually acted dignified. He asked her to be his girlfriend and tuck him into sleep. Eika wondered how he could be so naive, refusing to be his girlfriend or do anything like that. Eika asked if he was waiting for Wataru. She wondered why he didn't just say so, and Wataru realized Eika was embarrassed. Wataru imagined Eika waking him up in the morning, but then Natsukawa screamed at him to watch out because he was late. Natsukawa made a sound effect. A girl who collapses wondered what she was doing. Eika asked if the girl who collapses was okay, and told her not to overreact just to get attention. The narrator realized he had come to his senses and felt like he had been reborn. Wataru wondered about this new feeling that made the world feel shiny. Natsukawa-san remarked that Wataru was late, which was unusual for him. She told him not to be late again and to hurry up. Wataru's sister asked why Natsukawa-san was following her, but Natsukawa-san claimed she was just going to the toilet. Wataru's sister said Natsukawa-san should have said that earlier, and admitted she felt like something good might happen. She told her to get away, embarrassed. Wataru realized he hadn't given up, and the burning feeling in his chest was gone. He was happy Eika was directing her emotions straight at him, and wondered if he no longer liked her. Eika denied that was the case, and told him to say what he wanted to say. Wataru felt less embarrassed, but still thought of himself as nasty and ugly. He remembered he didn't just eat lunch with her. Eika asked if he hit his head, and wondered if he was okay. She thought there was something wrong with him today. A girl who collapses suddenly tells Wataru that she likes him and asks him to date her. Wataru thought there were too many similar words to use in a once-in-a-lifetime confession, and he was sure those words didn't mean much to Eika. Eika wondered what the girl was saying and why now. She knew the timing was right. Eika asked why they suddenly started calling each other by their first names. She thought others would misunderstand if he acted like her boyfriend, and it annoyed her. Wataru thought this was reality. He had been avoiding something in his life, and he had been having unbelievable dreams since junior high. Wataru said it was his bad, Natsukawa-san. He thought it was very late now. Natsukawa-san said he had told her countless times to stop calling her by her first name, so now she would call him by his last name. Wataru thought the more she hit him, the more he would miss her. He knew he loved Natsukawa-san, but even if he faced the reality, he was proud to be her fan and saw her as an unreachable idol, but it would be greedy of him to throw out all his feelings. Wataru's sister returned and welcomed him home, telling him he should have knocked and that he scared her. Wataru's sister asked what happened and questioned why he brought a girl, asking if she was his girlfriend. Wataru's sister said he came in so suddenly, and she didn't expect he was up to this. Wataru's sister greeted Natsukawa-san, asking if she was Wataru's friend, and apologized for her brother's attitude. Wataru's sister thought it was impossible and not what she expected, but such things happen a lot. Wataru realized how obvious his feelings for Natsukawa-san had been. He thought about how normal human relationships work. Wataru admitted he liked Natsukawa-san, but something didn't feel right, and he couldn't imagine a future with her. He realized he had been averting his eyes from reality. He understood that he needed to be more aware, relax a little, and get along with others. Wataru decided he could still enjoy his youth without Natsukawa-san. He thought as long as he was aware of himself, he could enjoy high school life. Wataru asked if she had a friend who was in the same league as him. Eika told him he was the worst. Wataru's sister told Natsukawa-san to shut up. Wataru's sister wondered why he didn't get girls' hearts and told him to stop with his foolishness. He felt like the stardust from back, then scattered before his eyes once again. While he was talking, Aizawa Rina invited him to eat lunch together in a place with many trees. Wataru wondered why she brought a boy she just met to this place that nobody knew about. Wataru's sister told him to calm down and that Aizawa Rina's friends must be hiding somewhere, holding their smartphones for a prank. She asked if they always ate there and what was wrong with him. He thought Aizawa Rina didn't like him, but realized that was how boys were. He asked her about mangas and who her favorite character was, then realized she was a Beriko. Wataru thought Aizawa Rina seemed like a bright, energetic fool who knew what boys liked, and wondered if she was used to socializing with them. He knew he wouldn't think about contacting her because a sparkling rom-com development wasn't going to happen to him. He decided to appreciate the background of Berikos, and she invited him to eat together again tomorrow. Wataru didn't care about Berikos now, but thought even if she deceived him, he couldn't help but forgive her, and wondered how he should deepen his friendship with Aizawa. He realized his relationship with Aizawa was still at the starting point, and several days passed. The girls around him gave him cold stares, and Wataru realized Aizawa was starting to become a negative influence in his peaceful student life, and that he must handle it immediately. Little by little, he felt as if he was coming closer to the source of their decreasing meetings, but Aizawa was too impatient and she may have achieved her goal. She asked him something. Aizawa asked if he was okay. Wataru wondered what kind of task Natsukawa-san had for him, because it was unusual for her to talk to him, and she asked if he and Aizawa were eating outside. She noted that he was eating lunch with Aizawa every day. Wataru thought that was probably what she wanted to talk to him about. He realized that Natsukawa-san had a much bigger information network than he did. Natsukawa-san asked if he had known Aizawa Rina before. She seemed to want to know more about Aizawa. Natsukawa-san refused to tell him anything and told him to stop chasing girls already. Wataru realized she thought he was aiming for Aizawa. Wataru wondered what Wataru's sister wanted, and he thought of her as the enemy of all women and Natsukawa-san's friend, Ashita. He felt she was looking down on him. Wataru's sister asked if he had stopped liking Eika. She wondered if he had already moved on from that love. Wataru's sister asked if he wasn't hurt by something that had happened to Aizawa. She claimed Aizawa had been clinging to a boy since she applied to the school. She said that Wataru's sister apparently got on with Aizawa since the first year of middle school. Wataru was surprised by her information network. The narrator reflected that Aizawa had a boyfriend until recently. He realized he could see Aizawa's motive. Eika thought that Wataru had been acting weird lately. Eika thought Wataru had become a lot calmer and his annoying behavior was gone. She had been bothered by his odd behavior and decided to go to his house. She recalled rejecting him as usual with cold words, and she had heard those words a lot. She thought he seemed serious at the time, but after that incident, he never said those words again to her. Eika remembered him saying he would try to read the situations from now on. She couldn't stay there for too long because his family was there, so she ended up running away. She wanted to ask him what situation he meant. After that, Aizawa Rina showed up in front of Wadharu. Eika thought he looked confused, so she assumed he didn't know who she was. Everyone in class told her that he went somewhere with Aizawa Rina every day. She finished her lunch in 15 minutes and didn't know how to spend the rest of her lunch break. He always forced a conversation, and it made her lunch break go by quickly. Eika thought that whether he's here or not, he keeps being a nuisance to her. He was probably having the time of his life talking with her without caring about how she felt, getting all flustered like that. She denied that she was jealous. Eika insisted she wasn't jealous and was happy they no longer had a nuisance like him. She didn't want her friend to think the two of them were like a weird newlywed couple. Eika's friend thought she heard about such a couple in this school before. Aizawa Rina used to have a boyfriend who was pretty close to her not too long ago. If she remembered correctly, his boyfriend was a senior. She thought it was weird that Aizawa Rina was now clinging to Wadharu and thought she might be plotting something. Eika wondered what was going on and if she should worry about Wadharu, though she didn't want to get involved. She noticed Wadharu was back and told him to stay until the end, then returned to her seat. Eika asked Wadharu why he wasn't talking to her like he used to and asked if he had a moment, because she felt it was weird that she had to start the conversation. She felt he might be in danger. Eika asked if he ate with Aizawa Rina during lunch every day and wondered why he was answering so calmly. Someone had seen them together outside, and she reminded him that he liked her and shouldn't be hiding this. Eika wondered why Wadharu was like this, so honest about his relationship with another girl. She recalled him calling her a goddess before and asked if he meant it. He said he did, and she asked if he knew Natsukawa-san. Eika wondered if Wadharu was aware that something was off about Aizawa Rina. She wanted to know more about her, but then told Wadharu not to cling to other girls. Eika thought that even though she was worried about Wadharu, he was just flirting with a girl he just met. If that was the case, she shouldn't have been worried about him. Natsukawa-san thought about what Eika had said about exposing Aizawa Rina. She wondered if she was the only one who didn't understand what was happening. Natsukawa-san wondered if feeling bad for Aizawa Rina was wrong. Since then, Aizawa Rina never visited him again, and Wadharu's quiet days had become lonely. 3 days had passed since the Aizawa Rina incident. Eika said he was the worst. She said she didn't need him to understand their circumstances, but thanks to their different mindsets, he could like Natsukawa-san one-sidedly. Eika said she was fine just watching her from a distance. Eika told someone not to worry about it, and that she didn't even feel like they did anything wrong. She said this was for all the trouble she'd caused. She asked why they were siding with Aizawa Rina. Eika said she would put it here. She was glad she was as happy as usual. She was curious what the cause of it was. She usually gave him a grim expression, but this was the first time he'd gotten an upset face from her. She was brimming with happiness and admiration towards Eika. Someone asked if Wadharu did something, but he said he just told her how great Eika was. She declared that spreading the greatness of Eika was her job, and she would do anything to protect her title as her #1 fan. She wondered why Eika got 20 limited cream puffs from the school cafeteria and how she got through the war zone. She was glad they were back together. She explained that Eika said she got them from her boyfriend, and she didn't think they'd get back together so quickly. She guessed that was just high school for you. She was happy that they had so much in common, but was doubtful about these two knowing about their interests when they were dating. She said Natsukawa-san was a good girl. She asked Ashida if he also liked Natsukawa-san and wondered why he was staring at her like that. He denied it. Wadharu thought he already got what he wanted, so it didn't matter. He was fine if Eika hated him, but he didn't want to be hated. He wouldn't expect much from her. Someone accused him of looking desperate. He denied it, saying he was just showing her something. He wondered what Natsukawa-san thought of him, but realized he was asking the wrong person. He told himself to stay calm. He thought Eika could never be replaced and was hurt by her words. She told him to forgive Eika because she didn't mean anything bad. He wondered what was with that stare. He didn't understand why she glared at him when he lowered his voice, but he also got to see Natsukawa-san's cute reaction. He wondered why Natsukawa-san was on his mind. He thought her big ribbon suited her and that she was like a cute doll. He asked if she needed a hand. Eika was surprised that cheerful people seemed to react like that. She thought Eichai was also wrong, but didn't elaborate. Eika thought Wataru clinging to Natsukawa-san kept others from approaching her. She wondered if his infatuation with Natsukawa-san was a bad move. Wataru thought that by distancing himself from Natsukawa-san, he could create a calm atmosphere where others could easily talk to her. He was confused by Eika's reaction. Eika wondered what she should do about Natsukawa-san. She thought sitting in the front would give the impression she was a serious person, but also worried about straining her voice. The girl who collapses thought that as long as there were no intruders like her, people should gather around Natsukawa-san naturally, and her own place beside her would slowly disappear. Eika asked if Wataru still needed something from her. She wondered how he could be so patient when she was just making him upset. Eika wondered why she was so annoyed by the situation, as she shouldn't care about him. She thought his pouting face was cute and that he was the weird one. The narrator wondered about the girl's black stockings and who she was with yesterday. He apologized deeply and noted that this was just fan translation. Eika wondered if the sadistic side was the best and felt guilty for wasting his kindness. She thought it was gross when he joked about her being older than him. The narrator felt embarrassed because he acted like a handsome boy with a soft voice. He thought that even if he was handsome, he could not help any girl without being suspicious. He described Rin Shino, the chairman of the Public Morals Committee, as popular with both men and women for her cool demeanor. The narrator thought she couldn't understand the thoughts of ordinary people like him. The narrator thought that Rin Shino didn't believe in the male student she was talking to. He assumed she had no ulterior motives and just wanted to praise his actions. Natsukawa-san asked if he often interacted with boy senior students and if Senpai could sympathize with either of them. She pushed forward toward her ideals and asked a nasty question to Chairman Shinomiya. Wataru wondered if his school life was about to change, being desperately held back by the cool, beautiful girl at school. He doubted he could solve the committee chairman's problems, especially since she was gripping him tightly and should be the one giving advice. Wataru was suddenly brought to the counseling room, and he figured people thought he had done something wrong. He found himself alone with the beautiful disciplinary head in a tight space, which felt like dealing with a teacher. Natsukawa-san revealed that the girl he called out was named Inatomi Yuyu, a senior member of the Public Morals Commission. She explained that Yuyu took pride in her job and worked hard. Wataru thought some students lost confidence when they saw him. He admitted that he thought Natsukawa-san was cool and serious about protecting the public morals of the students. Natsukawa-san told him not to praise her so directly as it made her embarrassed. Her heart suddenly beat fast, and she tried to calm down. She guessed he would ask about how to cheer up her junior properly. She has tried to motivate them in so many different ways, but they always come back with wanting to help her friends' worries as Public Morals Committee chairman. Natsukawa-san couldn't imagine Inatomi-senpai speaking like that. She acknowledged that Wataru connected with his male classmates and admitted she might not fully grasp his appeal. She explained that the Public Morals Committee had to understand other people's feelings, and she knew Wataru understood what they wanted. She thought Inatomi might not understand his appeal until people explained it in detail. Natsukawa-san wondered if her breath smelled like cheese. She noticed Keed among the people that had gathered there. Her danger sensors were reacting, and she couldn't move. She wondered who the man was and why they were hiding him. Keed relied on another person, claiming that she didn't know people like them. She named the reverse harem of the Keed family as K4 and asked Wataru his name. One of the senpais asked Wataru to step aside and inquired about his relationship with Keed. He introduced himself as Kai Takudo and said he lived under the same roof as her. Kai Takudo declared that he was Wataru's brother, though he admitted they didn't look alike, and that his sister was well dressed for him. Wataru thought about the Aizawa Rina case and how sisters were talked about by some boys. Wataru's sister interrupted, saying she was going first and was proud of him for being close to the cool upperclassmen. She told him she would see him after school and called him Natsukawa before quickly correcting herself. Wataru wondered what she was talking about, worrying that he would drown in their aura if he stayed there too long. He steeled himself, knowing he had to prepare himself for what was coming. Wataru's sister suggested they go together, and he thought that he was already forgiven. He wondered if he could just call her his girlfriend for now, but he admitted he no longer knew what she was thinking. One of the senpais asked if Wataru was her brother and commented on his height. Another senpai wondered who his girlfriend was. One of the senpais stated that Wataru seemed the most sane of the top four. Wataru's sister insisted they were nothing of the sort. One of the senpais apologized for the impolite question, saying it could be troublesome if answered differently. Wataru thought that these people were trained by his sister. He realized that Natsukawa-san had been beside him the whole time. He felt hurt going to school with these good-looking people. Wataru guessed they would split up here, understanding how his sister felt when she looked like that. He heard that these senpais, including his sister, were student council members, and the student council president was a cool senpai. Wataru's sister showed others that she was one of the four big sisters. She asked Natsukawa-san what she thought, but Natsukawa-san didn't look too happy to be surrounded by such handsome men. Wataru's sister asked if she wasn't going to class first. Wataru's sister stated that even though she was treated like an ordinary person after all this time, she was still super cute today. She stretched her nose out because she was so happy to be cared for. Wataru realized that if he stayed by Natsukawa-san's side, Natsukawa-san wouldn't be able to make new friends. Wataru's sister wondered where he was going, but he thought he should be going. She mentioned there were a bit too many events going on, and that it hadn't even been 2 hours since she woke up this morning. A girl who collapses vowed to do her best to get rid of her reticence towards boys from now on. Wataru decided to return to the classroom, back to his corner, and stare at Natsukawa-san. He realized that bending and compromising was who he was now, and he didn't care about the efforts of someone he didn't know. The story continues. Eika commented that it was already summer. She thought Wataru was just a cheeky junior, not a violent one. She wondered if she still thought about him. A girl wondered if she might have said something bad to him. She thought Wataru looked at her in a very bored way. Eika clarified that she was Rin, and she seemed to just get along well with others. She was called cute. Eika thought that what she should be looking at was something closer to Natsukawa-san. She then called out to Wataru. Eika thought Natsukawa blended in well with the class. Eika asked if today was Wataru's lucky day and told him that he was not in a position to complain about Natsukawa. She said it was for Natsukawa's big operation. Someone said they tried to give Natsukawa a shout-out with eye contact, so she would be fine. He wondered why Wataru didn't have lunch with Natsukawa-san. He thought Ashita should stay by Natsukawa's side to make it easier for people around her to talk to her. Wataru thought it was a good atmosphere, and he wondered if he still thought he belonged there. He felt like something like a burr in his heart was peeling off. Someone liked Natsukawa but hated something else. Aizawa Rina was going to the student council room for lunchtime. Wataru wondered about the girl in front of the student council room. He didn't want to get involved further because she was too flashy, but she caught his eye anyway. He realized his sister must be inside the room. Natsukawa-san thought there was a weird girl in front of the student council room and she couldn't get in, so she was leaving. She said she would report that to her sister and sneak back to her usual spot in the schoolyard. She was proud of herself for refusing her sister's call. Someone said he was late and would be killed. Wataru-kun was welcomed with a beautiful smile, and someone smelled a big pocket person. Wataru's sister was going to ask for help, but she had no choice. She asked Wataru to edit for the autumn festival and wondered why he called her. She knew he was good at office work and had worked part-time. Wataru's sister didn't think she knew about his part-time job because their parents scolded him for going out. She wondered if she showed her weakness to him. She wondered if the reason she called him was more out of necessity than he thought. Natsukawa-san said, "I see," and called Wataru's sister her little bro. She said she did not expect such a slurry of comments in opposition to the reasons for the application from the various departments. Wataru's sister asked if he didn't want to and said he wasn't calling her tomorrow, was he? She said she would buy him porn books. She thought he had too much control over her brother. She said see you tomorrow, and she does her job all right for the people who need the help. Kid-san was worried about Wataru-kun. She was going this way too and thought it was just an hallucination because she had been working too hard. She wondered if there was any boy that troubled him during his freshman year, and she asked him about that. She thought maybe there was a guy in her junior year she liked, so that's why all hands were on deck that morning. Wataru wondered if it was his fault they were late, but Natsukawa-san insisted she didn't feel that way. He realized he was no longer a kid. Natsukawa-san said he certainly had a somewhat constricted look in his eyes. She said she didn't see any resemblance to any of them from the very beginning. She wondered if she really was her brother. Wataru thought back to primary school and wondered how his sister could make so many friends. He realized he never really thought about puberty. Wataru's sister told him to respond to her a certain way if she said anything about him again. She said they had the same DNA, and she didn't want to miss her brother's growth. Natsukawa-san said it felt better to watch over a good-looking boy like him. She told him to stop making that expression every time he mentioned her name. Natsukawa-san said he had the power to save something of the protectorate somewhere in the world. She said if he touched her in any way, she wouldn't forgive him. Wataru realized Natsukawa's little sister, Shure-san, was much younger when he was in middle school. Natsukawa got scary when he mentioned it. Wataru thought if he had a sister like that, he'd blow the sun off his face just for a hug. He wondered if it was okay for her to show him this. Wataru said if he had a sister like this, just holding her in his arms would blow away his fatigue. Natsukawa said she wouldn't let someone like him near her. Wataru's sister seemed worried about him, but there was nothing serious. He felt good that things were going the way he wanted them to about Natsukawa. Natsukawa said they were going to explore some new ground. For a long time, he couldn't think of anyone else but her, which was why he hadn't read many new releases. Natsukawa asked if he was sure he wouldn't come. He asked her where to. Eika asked Wataru again if he was sure he wouldn't come, wondering if he had other business to take care of. Eika told him to do whatever he pleased with Natsukawa, but then asked if she could borrow Wataru for a bit. Wataru wondered what Natsukawa had said. She apologized for bothering them. The narrator believed the student guidance room was sometimes used as a punishment cell to correct students with poor behavior. He mentioned a girl who didn't care what teachers thought, and he wondered whose fault that was. Wataru was thanked for helping someone make up with Yu. He learned it wasn't all about snuggling, and he was glad he could cheer someone up. Natsukawa-san said that was why he was even more confusing to her. Wataru's sister said that she thought Eika's goal was to get along with boys. She agreed, but said that wasn't the focus. Wataru's sister said she was interested in his real feelings, and that she realized it was an issue between Yu and him. She added that he didn't have the same eyes he had when he gave her that advice. Natsukawa-san wondered why people always looked her in the eye and said they didn't understand her. She thought if she tied that to overcoming her dislike of boys, she wouldn't be able to move forward. Wataru's sister said she used that incident as a stepping stone in doing so, and she wanted to clear her name for having disrespected the generosity of others. She didn't think Inatomi-senpai apologized to her just for her sake, but so she could get rid of her fear. Wataru's sister felt that if that was really the case, she shouldn't have brought her ally, Shinomiya-senpai. She added that it wasn't something to blame. Wataru's sister told him he was harsh and wanted to be reliable as a senior. She said that for her, Yu was just a cute junior. Aizawa Rinat told Wataru he was now the junior person she had her eye on. He wondered if he was on the Public Morals Committee radar. Wataru was summoned to the student council room by his sister, and a blonde girl accused him of being too close with her. Wataru's sister didn't want him in the student council room with that attitude. The blonde girl didn't look Japanese because of her hair, but she insisted she wasn't jealous that he was close to his sister. She said she was just passing by and threatened to add 10 more documents. Wataru's sister asked him about the blonde girl, wondering if she was his type, but warned him to avoid girls with flashy hair. She asked Wataru if he knew her. Wataru's sister revealed that the girl was his fiancée, and Wataru's sister didn't seem to care at all. She told him that the girl must be jealous of her and to control her properly. Wataru's sister wondered who that girl was that time, but thought that not many beings could harm this gorilla. Wataru wondered if that girl from last time was his brother's girlfriend, and Wataru's sister told him to look at her. She told him that he would be together forever, and Wataru said she wasn't his girlfriend, but he was her loyal servant. Wataru's sister said that Wataru had been screaming about that girl before, and Wataru denied it. She mentioned he'd been trying for almost 2 years, and she thought he'd been brutally dumped and lost his nerve. Wataru's sister said she was dead serious, calling herself a loser. She told him that lunch break was almost over and to do his best at being gross. Wataru's sister told Wataru not to be discouraged and to do his best, and that good-looking people have good personalities. She said she wouldn't put salt on his wounds again. The story continues. Eika thought to herself that she didn't know anymore why she felt so confused, and that it was all his fault. She had been happy about changing seats because she was split from him, but somehow felt like something had changed about him. Eika reflected that they haven't spoken in a long time and remembered how fun it was talking with him, that she sometimes forgot herself. She also admitted that when he ignored her, she felt annoyed. Natsukawa-san wondered if she could talk to Wataru again and questioned what business he had with other girls. Natsukawa-san asked Eika what happened between her and Wataru, but Eika replied that nothing was wrong, as their seats were simply apart now. Eika added that they didn't have any other relationship, and Natsukawa-san took that to mean they weren't fighting. Eika said she was busy taking care of her sister, which surprised Natsukawa-san. Eika thought to herself that she wasn't used to the situation. Her classmates took an interest in Eri Shirai, and Eika commented that if she were her sister, she'd tease her a lot because her own brother was naughty. Eika recalled that Sasaki-kun also had a sibling. She thought his sister was cute, even though she was spoiled. She mused that she might like a brother like him. Eika then remembered that Wataru also had an older sister who she thought was nice, but maybe she couldn't tease her. Eika's classmates asked if they could come play at her house, which surprised Eika, since only Kei and friends from the club had visited before. Then she noticed her phone ringing. It was Wataru. Eika's classmates were talking about visiting Eika's house, and one of them joked that it wasn't a dungeon. Eika asked what they thought her house was. Eika felt happy because her classmates were all around her, including Wataru. She felt comfortable with this. Eika thought to herself that she wouldn't let Natsukawa-san get close to her sister. She wondered if it was wrong to visit with so many people, and that she didn't want Eri to be influenced by something bad. Natsukawa-san said that Eika was right, but then wondered why it was so easy for Wataru to turn away. Eika thought that they could talk like before, and wondered why Wataru suddenly started avoiding her. She noticed that she was added to a new group chat where her classmates were discussing visiting her house. Someone in the group said that there wouldn't be a problem if Sasaki-kun came too, because Eri would be happy to meet a cool older brother. Eika asked if Wataru was sure he wouldn't come. She wondered what would happen if he was swayed by the atmosphere. She thought she could talk with him again, but Shinomiya-senpai took him away. She wondered what kind of relationship they had. Eika exclaimed happily, saying that her sister was finally close with the others. Natsukawa-san asked if Eika remembered her name, and Eika said she didn't anymore. Natsukawa-san reminded her of the four of them, including Kei, and asked if she remembered them all. Eika thanked Natsukawa-san for coming, and asked if she could visit again. Natsukawa-san said that Eika was already having a hard time remembering, and it was hard to invite the others. Eika thanked Wataru, and someone exclaimed that Eika was cute. Eika stuck to Wataru's sister, and someone mentioned that Wataru also had a sister. Wataru's sister asked if his sister would get jealous. Eika was already asleep. Wataru's sister apologized, and Wataru said he was reminded of his sister when she was the same age. Wataru's sister asked if her friends had already gone home, and said that her mom was really happy when she brought friends home. She asked if Eika had any friends, and if she remembered them. Wataru's sister thought that Wataru was a really great brother, and Eika got close to him really quickly. She felt restless because everyone was kind and a good influence. Wataru's sister told Eika not to get too clingy with others. She shouldn't have said that, and wondered what she was actually thinking. She had already decided not to let him meet Eika again. Wataru's sister wondered if Natsukawa-san was not coming. She wondered what she actually wanted to say. Wataru reflected that time flies by without a care for his anxieties. He greeted Saju. Wataru thought Natsukawa-san was shining. She asked what was up and said good morning. Natsukawa-san brought up the time he went to Natsukawa's house. She asked if he wanted a picture. Wataru wondered if he thought he was lonely. He realized that he hadn't spoken with Natsukawa-san in a long time. He remembered trying to touch Natsukawa-san. Wataru thought he could never look away from Natsukawa-san's smile. He worried that getting close to her again might ruin their relationship. Eika suddenly attacked Wataru at Natsukawa-san's. She asked what was up. Eika wondered what Natsukawa-san was going to say. She noticed Natsukawa-san's face was red. Eika said it was disgusting. She asked if he thought she wanted to talk about that problem, then wondered what she meant just now. Aizawa Renash showed up and asked if he wanted to kill her. She wondered what was happening. Wataru's sister thought he was about his girlfriend. She realized he shamelessly went to Natsukawa-san's house. Wataru thought it would be easier to crack the code than understand his sister. He claimed she and Yuki-chan had exchanged contact information. He wondered if he would have a family meeting after school. Wataru wondered if it was okay not to go to the student council today. He thought about how little he chatted with Keed. Yamazaki told him to rely on his good friend if he had problems. Eika thought Koga was someone who couldn't read the room and liked to intervene. She thought if someone wanted to get close to a lot of students, they should avoid people like Koga. She wondered if Yamazaki was interested in her. Yamazaki asked if he wanted to join too. He wondered if Wataru knew what had happened lately, but he didn't feel attracted to her. He thought if Natsukawa and Ashita had a side like this, he'd want to slap their faces. Yamazaki asked if he'd done it yet and how far along he was. He wondered if he already failed as a husband. He thought maybe she didn't want him because of his face. He said many people had already talked about him. Yamazaki said he wouldn't recall those people that Saju asked. Akamura doubted he'd said anything. He wondered what type of girl Murate's was. Yamazaki was going to carry on talking to the brown-haired girl. He was happy for the advice, but now she was his friend. At first, he thought Aizawa Rina was similar to Koga and the others. Eika wondered what all this was about. Eika told her to calm down. She wondered why Natsukawa-san was mad and what she did wrong. She asked her to explain why she brought her here. Eika asked why he was talking with them. She wondered if that was the problem. Wataru wondered what the problem was and if she was just like this. He thought she seemed jealous of him talking to other girls. He wondered if Natsukawa was mad when he was talking with them. Eika told him that wasn't it. Eika didn't know why, but she felt angry because of her feelings towards Natsukawa-san. She felt guilty, but her words kept ringing in her head. Wataru thought what happened wasn't normal, and it would have been better if he had helped the student council. He still felt the pain, even though he didn't want to. The story continues. A girl asked if she needed anything, calling her the president of the student council. She was asked if she could spare a moment. Natsukawa-san asked what was up. She said that he was always silent when he wanted to say something to her. She apologized and said she would see him later, excusing herself. A girl told Wataru that one of the qualities required of the student council president is to have a rational mind. She apologized for suddenly calling him there and asked if it was about student council work again. She asked Wataru what he thought about himself. She said that depending on his answer, he might be ordinary or indirectly involved with the student council, wondering what kind of question it was. She asked him to forget she asked, but she had heard he was chasing Eika, wondering if that made him special. She asked why he had stopped, but then told him not to talk about it, as he was getting too involved. She told him that no matter what he said, he should have seen Natsukawa-san at his house. She asked if he knew the girl who was in the same league as him, saying he definitely hadn't told her everything. She said his aura was completely different from before. She said there was no way he would be uninteresting to her. She said Keed also seemed confused by the change, but it wasn't bad that he gave up on love. She asked how much his sister had told him, saying Keed wanted to talk to him. Eika wondered what was wrong, but guessed it was a good enough reason to push herself forward. She seemed to think she was responsible for destroying her younger brother's youth, saying she vaguely felt she had some sort of guilt towards him. Wataru's sister recalled that when he was little, Keed and their mother would say something along the lines of, "You have that kind of attitude." She admitted she felt guilty if what her sister had been telling him was the truth. She said his sister was the one who taught him. She revealed that they saw Keed crying for the first time. Wataru remembered that when he went to the student council room to talk to her, it wasn't even Friday. He seemed relieved that there was no need to reveal his embarrassment from now on. His sister asked if he wasn't very satisfied with the current situation, wondering if she was avoiding him on purpose. Wataru wondered if Yuki-senpai was talking about this with him because he didn't want to see his sister sad, or if he was annoyed that he made her sad. He thought Yuuki-senpai was just a handsome guy who had hopes, dreams, and beautiful things, but it seemed he also had desires like any other person. Aizawa Rina asked if Yuuki-senpai knew how good-looking his face was. She said he became arrogant and experienced painful things. She added that Wataru's sister was the one who saved her when she fell that time. Wataru was surprised, thinking he had already prepared the stage. He thought he needed some preparation, even though this was for his sister. His sister cried. Wataru's sister didn't have much of a chance to see him usually. She didn't want to see her family cry, even if it was her arrogant sister. She got a strange feeling just imagining it. Even so, when she heard her sister was crying in place, she didn't know what to do. Wataru's sister was surprised when Renji said that Rin called her. She wondered why he was there, and if Rin meant Shinomiya Rin. She questioned if they knew each other. She realized that Renji was Hanawa-senpai from the student council, who looked his best. She hoped Hanawa-senpai would fail at playing people since he lied. She heard her sister was crying and guessed Yuuki-senpai wasn't lying. It was the president who revealed everything, and she wondered what he meant. Wataru's sister asked what her good qualities were, saying she was strong-willed but didn't plan on being petty like she usually was. She asked her sister to name her good qualities, even if she was worried about her crying. Wataru's sister was not like her usual self and wondered if she was worried about her. She admitted she was still curious, even though she stopped chasing Eika. Her sister listed her face, posture, fashion sense, strength, height, character, hair, hygiene, scent, aura, smarts, and finances. Wataru's sister said that was enough and asked her to stop. She wondered if her normal side was actually countless. She realized her sister also thought she was ordinary and that there was nothing wrong with that fact. The story continued, and Wataru's sister thought he was also experiencing the same thing. She wondered if she'd done something she shouldn't have. Wataru's sister wondered if he thought she saw Natsukawa as defenseless. She thought he still loved her, even with a stupid smile on his face, but she didn't want him to give up. She looked upset and wondered what she wanted to say. Wataru's sister admitted he was average. She said she might have said some harsh things but wasn't serious. She didn't want him to give up on Eika, who he had been chasing for years. She asked why he was only saying this now and vowed to stop making fun of him. Wataru asked if she intended to give him confidence by lowering her voice and not throwing punches. He wondered what there was to fix, and if she wanted him to forget everything and become a gentle big sister. He declared he didn't have a sister that treated him gently like that. Wataru's sister said their normal sibling relationship was the best. She asked if he wanted to destroy the relationship they had built without hesitation or worry. She described her as a queen who never said a word of courtesy to him while lying on the sofa. Wataru declared he didn't know of a gentle big sister and was neither a masochist nor someone who liked to be made fun of. He admitted that if she became gentle, it might be his wish come true, but he was filled with frustration. He clarified that it was fine outside, but he didn't want her to be like that at home. Wataru's sister said she preferred the usual him. She told him not to worry about it and asked her to stop. Wataru's sister thought she could never live this down. She was embarrassed that she asked him to just be her usual sister. She wondered if she should have said something else. She vowed to never have a serious conversation with him again. Wataru's sister asked what he really wanted, saying this might be his last chance for her to be nice to him. She asked why it had to be the last chance and he couldn't just be nice to her usually, even if he didn't care. She wondered if she was bluffing and what she was talking about. Natsukawa-san demanded why Wataru was talking like that to his own sister. Wataru was shocked to see her and wondered what she was doing there, and if she had heard about their earlier conversation. He wondered why Natsukawa-san was angry. Wataru's sister yelled at Natsukawa-san to stop, saying she was being too hard on him and would make her sad. She apologized, explaining they had only heard the end of the conversation. She wondered if Natsukawa-san was trying to take revenge on him. Wataru was more scared of Natsukawa-san than his sister. Wataru's sister asked Natsukawa-san not to say a word, as she didn't have the guts to rebel against her. She asked if he was listening and told him to show respect to his elders. Natsukawa-san declared she wouldn't forgive him if he was a bad influence on Eika and asked him to come with her for a bit. She told Wataru's sister to count it as rescuing him. Wataru felt his head had just become a flower garden. He apologized, confused. Wataru's sister asked what that meant. She thought he wouldn't want anything good from her later. He thought that at least when they next met, she would be at home lying on the sofa in immodest clothes and would kick him for being loud. He didn't know whether or not the problem was solved. Wataru was confused, wondering how he ended up in a restaurant. Natsukawa-san apologized for listening to Wataru's conversation with his sister. She admitted she followed Wataru to the rooftop to search for him. She said he looked cute that day, and that Eika had also become cute in some way, telling him to do what he wants. Natsukawa-san admitted she really wanted to say it herself, but Eika would never tell him. She noted it was rare for those two to act harshly toward each other. She felt different than usual and her back hurt. Wataru asked if she wanted to talk or something. Natsukawa-san told him not to force himself to talk to her when there was nothing in particular to say. She said it wasn't bad, but it was hard for him to talk about it, so it was okay if they didn't talk anyway. She also told him not to talk to girls aggressively, and if he didn't have a cheeky mouth towards his older sister, everything would settle down. Natsukawa-san wondered if she could accept that, stating she'd become a bit frustrated too. She asked if his change had this kind of aftermath. She asked Eika if she could say that. Natsukawa-san wondered why she didn't go out with him and if she was angry, but then said it was all right. Natsukawa-san warned that if he ignored her again, she'd end up doing something weird. She wondered if Wataru was straightforward because he didn't hide his true intentions. She thought his reaction was cute and wondered how Eika could reply with, "That's strange to me." She asked what exactly he meant and if it was okay to turn around 3 times and say one thing. Wataru was confused by Natsukawa-san's words, feeling awkward and unsure of what to say. He was surprised she thought he was interested in her after so long. Natsukawa-san hated the silence, finding it hard to stop now. She thought it was better to keep her distance from Natsukawa-san. She wondered why Natsukawa-san was making such a determined face. Natsukawa-san asked Wataru to come to her place. Eika repeated, "Your place," in disbelief. She was embarrassed and internally struggled with her feelings, trying to use words to make them disappear. Eika said it was okay now and she'd put up with whatever Natsukawa-san said. She remembered something bad and wondered if he would talk to Ashita the same way. Eika said today was her limit and she wouldn't bother talking about it anymore, disgusted. Eika wanted to introduce him to Ai-chan. She asked quickly who Ai-chan was. She wondered if it was Natsukawa's little sister and if Eika was sure about letting someone disgusting and bad influencing get closer to her. She seemed surprised. Eika wondered why she felt this way, unable to tell if she was happy or sad. She questioned why she didn't firmly deny Natsukawa-san's claim and realized it was the first time Natsukawa-san had directly told her she was lying. Eika didn't understand why she was still letting him meet her, criticizing Ai-chan a lot today. It was rare that she didn't panic, and she couldn't turn it back now. Eika told the girls to calm down, as there was an employee present. She was surprised that Natsukawa had negative feelings toward her and felt happy, but it didn't feel right. Eika said that this time should be satisfying, but she didn't judge him that way. She thought it was disgusting, but not after all, so she'd let them meet. Eika said it was okay to talk about things related to the change of heart, but questioned what he meant by "it's good to let them meet." Natsukawa-san's face was red again, embarrassed. Eika didn't seem embarrassed, almost as if she was being pressured. She called her brother Sasaki. Eika questioned why being affectionate was wrong, as it seemed good to her, but the others said she was wrong. She wondered if they regretted letting Eika meet Natsukawa-san and Wataru together, considering it bad for their education. Eika thought that Ashita hadn't exactly left her there, and that a typical corner boy wouldn't get her when she got serious. She wondered if that was what a maiden heart meant. Wataru realized Sasaki had seen Sajaki once more, which made him feel unfavorable. Eika had created a scenario where she would meet Eika by herself. Eika wondered if Natsukawa-san had come to meet her at her place because she had met Eika, and why she was being dragged out violently by her. Eika exclaimed and asked if everything was okay. She realized Natsukawa-san had left Sajaki with the bill, which she thought was cruel. They had only talked about different things, but Natsukawa-san's cuteness stood out. Eika told her to remember the others later and said she would tell everyone that she sent her home. Eika asked if Sajaki knew all that from before, and said it wasn't that Hei thought he was creepy to that extent. She wondered if Hei must have thought about it like that too, and asked if Sajaki was okay with that. Eika realized there was still a place for Sajaki regarding Hei, and wondered what the hell was going on. Eika thought it wasn't about whether it was good to be comfortable or not, but that it was impossible to be sad when there's someone who likes you. She admitted that even if it's troublesome, it helps her to keep her confidence. A girl thought that if somebody's own place were to get lost suddenly, anyone would be surprised and it would bother them. She wondered why she always got angry and wouldn't drop the disgusting part. As expected, the lunch wasn't good. Wataru's sister told her big sister about the assaulting situation and asked what was wrong and why she wouldn't eat her favorite food. Wataru's sister thought that now that she thought about it, Wataru had stopped buying manju. She asked if it wasn't him who did the assaulting and told him to eat it himself. Wataru thought that something wasn't right and that if there was something, she'd be curious about it instantly. He wanted to sleep, but he also had something to say as the younger brother of the 4 council members. Wataru's sister apologized for the trouble, but stated that becoming relatives was a different story. She said she would contact her neighbor and sell his face to them, and after that, the big sister held a metal battle fish. Wataru was relieved that it was still morning and thought about the small, good things. He wondered why Natsukawa-san was suddenly formal and when things would happen. The narrator noted that even though it's just one word, it's still a word. Eika was still just imaginary from his point of view. Eika asked if she was imaginary and told Wataru not to say that. She wondered if Eika was only inviting Sajaki alone. Eika realized that meant it was only them and that the tournament was coming up soon. She said that she couldn't skip and told him to take a break from the volleyball club. Wataru wondered about Sasaki being with Eika and told her she didn't need to think about it. He jokingly asked if he should just kill Sasaki. Eika told him he didn't need to force himself and to just tell her when he was ready. Eika asked what he heard because Natsukawa-san said she could. She told him that feeling made something inside her rise up. Eika realized Natsukawa-san finally talked normally to her, and it felt like a dream. Eika commented on his two-tone hair. She said that when Sasaki was indulging in Eika, he became nervous about his sister, Wataru's sister. She asked why he looked so frustrated. Wataru thought about Wataru's sister, who was 14 years old. Eika said that he cheated on her with Natsukawa-san's sister. Eika said she wouldn't say anything about that. She said Natsukawa herself would be the judge, and in the end it was up to Wataru to pick. Eika said she would still hate the things she hated. Eika declared to Wataru that she would be serious to get her. She wondered why he was suddenly so pumped up. Wataru decided he wouldn't be arrogant anymore about Natsukawa-san, the unreachable flower. He wondered what he should do if an Ikemen like Sasaki became his rival. Eika saw Wataru and greeted him. She noticed the members of the disciplinary committee were there to eat together. She wondered why they continued to eat, and one asked if her face looked scary. Aizawa Renag greeted Wataru. He thought of her as a heavenly angel, which felt different from before. He wondered why he wanted to be patted. Wataru wondered how this girl, who was so fearful when Natsukawa-san came into sight, could be so happy. Eika asked what dumb thing he was talking about and introduced her childhood friend, Mida Ayano-chan. Eika explained that Mida-senpai was a serious person like Inatomi-senpai and helped Yuyu. Mida introduced herself, but Eika wondered why Inatomi-senpai seemed to dislike boys so much today. Mida Ayano introduced herself. Eika thought she would get him after this and told him not to force himself. Eika warned that boys were just perverts who looked at cute girls like Yuyu with weird expressions. She told Yuyu that Wataru wasn't like that and she had to be careful, because Wataru was very cowardly. Eika said they were going first. She referred to something she talked about with Shinomiya-senpai last time, but she couldn't discuss it with Inatomi-senpai. She insisted that if she didn't heed Inatomi-senpai, she wouldn't let a Kuhai boy get close to Inatomi-senpai again. Eika admitted that Yuyu was a bit full of herself. She said Wataru was the one who could show that even boys she hated could have a good side, which could change her. Eika claimed that it was all thanks to Wataru's butting in. She said that Wataru had helped her with her problem too, not just Yuyu's. She added that Yuyu seemed happy while leaning on her. Wataru's sister remarked that it sounded like a line from a drama. She admitted she knew Eika, who she'd known since the first grade, and had been inconvenienced by her back then. Eika said goodbye to Wataru. Eika admitted it was hard for her to be more confident, because she had already thrown away her self-confidence. She added that Wataru's sister, being an adult, was also very scary. Natsukawa-san denied that she was lying. She asked what was up. When Eika said she looked cute, Natsukawa-san denied it. She then reminded Eika that her little sister's name was Eri and not to forget it. Eika recalled that Natsukawa-san had previously said she wouldn't let Eika meet Eri, and wondered why she'd changed her mind. Eika wondered if Natsukawa-san would get angry if she touched her cheek. She asked when they should talk about Natsukawa. The narrator reflected that he could understand a little bit of Natsukawa-san's feelings. He realized that Natsukawa-san was showing him how to express and accept his uncertain feelings. He wondered what he could do to make those frustrated feelings go away. Eika said she didn't care, but Wataru knew she did care about meeting Eri. Eika said that if Natsukawa-san felt relieved, it was fine, and it was also fine if she wanted to get angry. Eika added that everyone already understood how Natsukawa-san was feeling right now, but Natsukawa-san insisted she didn't care about that. Eika told Natsukawa-san to just do what she wanted to do. She said that if she could meet Eri, she wanted to meet her, and she couldn't wait. Eika added that if Natsukawa-san said to do it, there was no reason not to introduce herself. Eika told Natsukawa-san that she didn't need to question her contradictiveness. She added that as someone who likes her, she wanted Natsukawa-san to be truthful to her own feelings. Eika vowed to swallow all of Natsukawa-san's frustration and thanked her. Eika wondered if she was making a weird face, even though she was being super serious. Eika said that even though her cold was hard to completely make up for the time she lost not going to school, she had already texted Ashita saying she would be in the canteen. Aizawa Renat told Wataru that she heard he was sick and asked if he was okay now. Wataru said he was all right, and Aizawa Renat revealed she had come all the way to see him because she really wanted to talk to him earlier, but unfortunately he was sick. Aizawa Renat got straight to the point. Aizawa Rina asked Wataru to join the disciplinary committee. She explained that quite a few girls came to visit, but they only came to have fun. Aizawa Rina said her term would end that coming fall, but she couldn't get any of her junior boys to take over the committee, and she could sense ulterior motives behind joining. Wataru refused, saying he couldn't do it. Aizawa Rina said that not only did they have standard events such as cultural and sports festivals, but everyone had to belong to some kind of public morals committee. Wataru thought it sounded like too much work, so he had to say no. Aizawa Rina said that when the first semester starts, his school becomes more busy. Aizawa Rina said she trusted him because he was Keed's brother and asked him to please support the committee as he did when he advised her. She wanted him to think about it, because things would change in the second semester. Aizawa Rina said she was looking forward to working with Wataru. Aizawa Rina spoke to him. Aizawa Rina said she was still sick and that she was being too forceful. Aizawa Rina told him the disciplinary committee was going to be a real pain, and she asked why he was drenched in sweat. Aizawa Rina asked if he felt anything special, implying they were at an age where they get nervous about skin contact like this. She said there was a meeting for the cultural festival about to start. Aizawa Rina asked if anyone wanted to join the committee. Wataru observed that Ikano-sen next to him seemed focused on reading, and there were 6 people in total. The teacher chose Wataru, but Yamazaki suggested they settle it with rock, paper, scissors. Wataru thought it was already cured, but he would be satisfied with a fair decision. Tabata said it had been months since they last talked. Wataru thought Tabata was the ordinary type, and he wanted to make this fast. Wataru realized Natsukawa-san would be the girl, which was what he wanted. Wataru told Sasaki that if he tried, he thought he could handle both. He was glad Sasaki was doing this, but asked if the football club would be okay with it. Natsukawa-san said it was a pleasure to work with Sasaki too. Wataru felt a sharp pain in his chest, wondering why relationships were prioritized. A girl thought they looked so good together. She wondered why Wataru was reacting so normally and told him to shut up. Natsukawa-san told Sasaki to make sure he did not make any mistakes. She would have to make a report soon to Wataru's sister. Natsukawa-san planned to sit at home and play lots of games. She did not have any money, so today was her first day at work. Natsukawa-san thought the hourly wage was low, but the job was easy. Rude or violent customers would not come to a second-hand bookstore. The old man would entrust Natsukawa-san with organizing the books and dealing with customers. The manager said it was a really good decision to choose Natsukawa-san. He told her she could go home now. Natsukawa-san was eating a steamed bun. She couldn't believe she had just finished working. She thought she would ignore the junior high school boys. Natsukawa-san told them to calm down, asking if they wanted to be killed. She pretended to call the police, and it went better than she thought. Natsukawa-san asked if they were really injured, offering to call the police again. One of the boys assured her he was fine. He gave Natsukawa-san his name, and she wondered if she could contact his family. Another person called out Ku-kun. Natsukawa-san insisted she was fine. A woman thanked God and asked Ku-kun if he was hurt anywhere. She recognized Natsukawa-san as the one who helped him. The story continues. Natsukawa-san thought the lady was beautiful and had an adult sexiness about her. She congratulated Wataru on getting into Koetsu High School. Wataru wondered if he could get that impression with a high school girl. Wataru realized Natsukawa-san was working a part-time job. He was impressed that she was both studying and working. Natsukawa-san wondered if Sasaki-san was on her way to college. Natsukawa-san thanked Wataru for helping her brother. She admitted that he handled the situation like an adult and asked him to help her with something else. Wataru agreed to help her with anything she needed. Natsukawa-san asked if Wataru had any study tips for prestigious schools. Wataru offered to tell her, even though they weren't a couple. He admitted he still liked her but realized she was out of his reach. She wondered if it was her charm that made him give up. Natsukawa-san stated that thinking about the person you like should give you the energy to study and do your best on the entrance exam. She asked Wataru if he had experience with boys. He was surprised by her question and wondered if a woman as beautiful as her must have had experience with guys. Natsukawa-san's talk about boys made Wataru wonder if that time was her first experience with boys. He questioned if she was really a pure university girl and realized he would never understand girls. Natsukawa, another person, mentioned having milk and coffee after a long day of work. She wondered if someone had already sent her a popular message. She told Wataru that he had been ignoring everyone's messages in the classroom and that he would get a bad reputation if he kept it up. Natsukawa-san apologized to Ashita, explaining that she couldn't afford to use her cell phone because she was having fun meeting a college student. She realized she had been removed from the group chat. Wataru's sister suggested he join the Public Moral Committee to help with the welcome meeting, as they were short-staffed. She explained that the student council was too busy to assist. She mentioned that Wataru could also join the student council to help them, but claimed Rin had been constantly talking about him. She asked him how she was supposed to feel when a girl her age was interested in her younger brother. Wataru wondered if Shinomiya-senpai was like that. He realized he owed his sister one and agreed to help Shinomiya-senpai if it would calm her down. Wataru's sister answered the phone and learned it was Shinomiya-senpai. She asked if he needed something from her. Wataru's sister claimed that it was the job of the Public Moral Committee and that he didn't have to do it. Wataru wondered if she had just rejected him. Wataru's sister added that she would also like to see Shinomiya-senpai. Wataru wondered if she was okay and if something was wrong with the signal. He was worried about transporting things and asked if she was sure she wanted to do it. Wataru's sister insisted that if it was for Shinomiya-senpai, she didn't care. She wondered if it was okay to think of it as getting attached. Wataru greeted Shinomiya-senpai and apologized for leaving the other day. She said he was helping her today, which meant he was joining the disciplinary committee, and they should go to the meeting. Shinomiya-senpai explained the meeting place of the disciplinary committee was a classroom on the second floor of the North Wing. She noted Wataru and his sister had been together since middle school. Shinomiya-senpai noted that the other members were selected from the Cultural Festival Committee and students in general. She told Wataru to take one of the empty seats. Wataru thought to himself that he didn't want them to notice him. Shinomiya-senpai announced they should start the meeting. Wataru noticed most of the disciplinary committee members were girls who admired Shinomiya-senpai. Ikeno-senpai introduced himself and said he expected a lot from Wataru since there were not many men there. Shinomiya-senpai said Wataru actually saved her and she appreciated it. Ikeno-senpai said there were two more girls, one in her second year and another in third year, but it seemed they didn't fit in a girls-only environment. Wataru's sister said she would take care of things because she had experience from the second-hand bookstore. She said she was coming. Shinomiya-senpai said they were finished, and because Wataru was so open to helping, the other members regretted pressuring him to work more. She thanked Wataru and Ikeno's-kun for their help. Shinomiya-senpai apologized and asked if she could come to Wataru's house after finishing this. Ikeno's-kun was surprised by the sudden turn of events. Wataru's sister asked Wataru what was up and said he looked dead. She noted it was past noon and asked if the middle schoolers were there yet. Wataru's sister told him she was counting on him for help that afternoon. Wataru's sister asked what he was doing so suddenly and said it was good to do this once in a while. She told him to stop and said she wasn't jealous of Shinomiya-senpai at all. The story continues. Yuuki Saudo, the student council president, welcomed everyone to Koetsu High and guaranteed a healthy school life. Wataru's sister said the briefing went off without a hitch. She offered to help and asked to borrow his computer. She couldn't believe her part-time work experience was being put to good use. Wataru realized they were finally finished. He wondered about Shinomiya-senpai, who was still in meetings with the school teachers and principal. He thought about how hard it must be for her. Wataru's sister thought Rin was paying a lot of attention to him because he was Keed's jealous brother, but she had drawn good conclusions about him. She admitted she was surprised by his hard work and that she wanted to keep talking to him when he was around. Wataru's sister confirmed that everything was back to normal with Shinomiya-senpai. She asked why he didn't go to the other side because Natsukawa-san was there, but he insisted he was fine. Wataru's sister thought they looked good together, and it was absurd to feel jealous. She realized the heavy work of her senpais turned out to be more painful than she thought. Wataru's sister decided to go home because her body was numb. Wataru's sister asked what he was doing there, and he claimed he was stretching his waist. Wataru's sister noted that this summer had been a little bit, and Wataru asked if she wanted him to be a guide for the new high school students. She mentioned that their teacher had asked them to help with the high school students' visit and suggested it would be better advertising. She asked him to think about helping people. Wataru's sister felt like the school was like a festival, with visits from secondary schools and football club activities. She wondered if joining the cultural festival board was the right thing to do. She didn't want to be a burden, so she thanked him for his concern and told him to go home and take care of Natsukawa-san. She suggested he come see the football club for a change of pace, since she couldn't talk because she was tired. She recalled that every time he came to see her, he would repeat himself. She realized that Wataru was always by her side, and thanks to him, she had more friends than she expected when she reached high school. She had forgotten what boredom was, and she wondered about the frustration she felt now. Wataru's sister reflected that her parents barely had time for them when Wataru's sister was born, but she still had fun taking care of her. However, she still felt loneliness until Wataru came into her life. She remembered that she fell in love with his great kindness the first time they met, when he tripped in the cafeteria. She recalled being busy taking care of her sister and household chores and having to refuse him, but that was just the beginning with Natsukawa-san. Wataru thought about Natsukawa-san and how someone had rejected him with such sincerity. He thought Eika was the best, and he asked to carry her bag. He wondered if they could be together again and asked if he could call Natsukawa-san by her first name, Eika. Regardless, he was always so calm, and he seemed so happy back then. From then on, it was somewhat irritating, and she unknowingly used to say some harsh words to him, as if he became some kind of celebrity along with Wataru in the classroom. Natsukawa-san heard that Wataru was chasing her. Her classmates told her not to worry and that they would protect her, and before she knew it, she started talking to her classmates. As expected, Wataru also joined the group. It was so much fun hanging out with everyone, and the loneliness in her being was gone. Thinking about it, she took advantage of that time and focused on studying for the Koletz high school entrance exam. Shortly after high school finished, Wataru gave her a little breath. Natsukawa-san thought it was obvious that Wataru studied a lot to enter the same high school as Eika. She wondered how Wataru passed, and noted that she also passed. She told him not to be so loud in a public place, and recalled her days as a high school student together with Wataru. She met other girls and made friends, and several classmates began to meet and talk. That was how she met Ashida, one of her first friends, to whom she introduced Eika. Natsukawa-san thought she would never be alone again, and with such expectations in her heart, she began her life as a high school student. She thought that forming a group with such good friends would fill her days with satisfaction. Natsukawa-san muttered an apology for everything. She recalled that Wataru clung to her one day, always bothering her, and the next day he left her completely alone. Eika thought it was supposed to be something good for her, but all she felt was discomfort. She wanted comfort too, and she forced Wataru to meet Eika. She didn't know why it bothered her that it wasn't Wataru. Wataru became someone important in her life, and before she knew it, Kei was busy at her club, and Wataru didn't comment on anything in the group. All of this made her feel something she hadn't experienced since high school, and lately, she couldn't be calm on summer vacation. Natsukawa-san felt a loneliness somewhere in her being, and she already knew of its existence. Without anything to brighten the atmosphere, she felt that when she closed her eyes, everyone around her disappeared and left her alone. She was not like the others, and this feeling of loneliness consumed her. She felt sick when she thought that it was boring to spend time with her little sister. Natsukawa-san realized she was distracted for a moment, and the meeting was about to start. Someone asked if she was okay, and she replied that she was fine. Natsukawa-san wondered if she had been worried about Wataru, as the darkness inside her disappeared. Wataru's sister offered to show Natsukawa-san around the high school, but she reminded her that certain questions were inappropriate during the tour. She told the others to follow her, annoyed by Wataru's sister. Wataru's sister announced that the tour was over and Natsukawa-san was free to explore the high school herself. Natsukawa-san thought that if Wataru was helping the disciplinary committee, she might see him later at the briefing. Wataru's sister thought the student presentations were excellent, especially Eika's. She decided to leave some students to support the student council and others to clean up. Wataru realized it had been a while since he and Natsukawa-san had seen each other, but they still hadn't spoken. She asked if he still had time to help her with some paperwork. Wataru wondered if she was in the disciplinary committee room. Eika thought Wataru looked handsome and vowed to work hard on the cultural festival committee, just like him. She wanted to call him, but decided it wasn't the right time. Natsukawa-san apologized, saying they were done for the day. She asked if Natsukawa-san was okay and suggested getting some fresh air. A girl who collapses thought she saw Wataru from the window. Wataru felt the need to say something, anything. He asked what she was doing there. The story continues. The girl who collapses thought Wataru being there was new. She admitted she was busy and knew he was watching her. The girl who collapses asked Wataru what was going on, insisting nothing was wrong, despite not speaking to him all day. She realized this was happening and told Natsukawa she wanted to talk somewhere else since they hadn't spoken in a long time, noting that Eika, Wataru, and she were all there. She was relieved, saying she was sweaty and needed to leave, calling out to Eika. Aizawa Rina said they both did a good job, noting she hadn't seen them in a while, and asked if they had club activities every day, explaining tournaments weren't coming up, so she was busy training. Despite Natsukawa-san and Aizawa Rina's looks, the girl who collapses continued telling them the story of meeting a beautiful angel, insisting it was the truth. The girl who collapses noticed the uniform and realized she was wrong, claiming the girl looked identical to Sasaki-san from Miss Hirohama Girls' School, wondering if she went to the meeting. The girl who collapses heard only third-year students would be at the meeting, but Wataru was there to help the disciplinary committee, and she didn't expect to see him. She was shocked that Sasaki-san was a high school student, thinking she was an older woman, and announced her name was Sasaki Fuka, a third-year student, vowing to get into Kotsu High School and asking for Wataru's support. The girl who collapses apologized, explaining they shouldn't suddenly disappear, and wondered if Wataru was the same Saju who made the bad-spoken Fuka-chan speak formally. As it was getting late, It was time to go home, and Sasaki-san agreed. But the girl who collapses wanted her to listen to her senpai, thinking this was the most uncomfortable moment in her life as a high school student. The story continues. Wataru was with her that day, helping the disciplinary committee, and she realized Wataru's sister's older brother was a member of the disciplinary committee, remembering when her brother brought Yuri-san home, and she started spending less time with her older brother. Wataru's sister felt alone when she came home one day and found a pair of shoes that didn't belong to her family, pleading with Ikeno-san to stop. They were kissing each other passionately, with Yuri-san on top of her brother, and Wataru's sister wondered what they were doing. Wataru's sister understood it must have been difficult for her, but thought it would be better to leave those feelings behind and still be on good terms with her brother, and Ikeno-san thought she was wrong to assume that. The story continues. Ikeno-san had been sitting by herself for a long time, and the reason why a shy girl like her got a part-time job was to get away from her older brother. Ikeno-san asked for 130 yen, offering free cover for the customer's book, overcoming her brother. Ikeno-san greeted Sasaki-san, who had come to clarify a misunderstanding, and Sasaki-san explained that her sensei had told her that she had finally reached a balance between how she looked and how she acted, clarifying that she did not read romance novels. Sasaki-san asked Ikeno-san to treat her like a kuhai. Ikeno-san introduced Sasaki-san as a middle schooler who would be taking the entrance exam for their high school next year, and Sasaki-san asked to call Ikeno-san senpai, and it seemed she was moving forward without fear. Ikeno-san was surprised by Sasaki-san calling her kuhai. Ikeno-san was surprised when Sasaki-san called her kuhai, and Sasaki-san asked if she liked books too, saying she didn't have many friends who liked reading, and Ikeno-san said she reads books that attract her because of their title. A girl apologized for interrupting and asked Sasaki-san if she had some time. Wataru realized Sasaki-san could have a normal conversation, and he thought he couldn't pass on this opportunity, deciding he and Sasaki-san would play the role of customers so Ikeno-san could get used to serving customers, and he asked why they didn't sell magazines. Ikeno-san was going to ask the manager for help, but she thought that was also a good solution, even if it was just practice, and she wondered if Ikeno-san was really going to call the manager. Natsukawa-san apologized, saying that while she didn't think the manager would be the best person to ask, she also thought it would be difficult for the old man, so she should try to answer on her own, little by little, and Ikeno-san said it was a part-time job. Natsukawa-san asked Sasaki-san to play the role of an even more problematic customer, because Natsukawa-san wanted to try different things, and she insisted this counted as a study about society, but Sasaki-san wondered if it was too complicated. Sasaki-san said she would do her best, and Natsukawa-san encouraged Ikeno-san, saying she was doing well and would soon be able to serve customers alone. Sasaki-san came in, greeting Ikeno-san in a friendly manner, then suddenly shouted insults, and Ikeno-san was scared, trying her best to avoid Sasaki-san's insults, which prevented Ikeno-san from doing her job well. At the end, Sasaki-san left the shop with a smile, thanking Ikeno-san, who passed the test, and Natsukawa-san asked her to take care of Sasaki-san when she was gone. Natsukawa-san was sure Ikeno-san would soon be able to handle customer service, but she was worried about the confession Ikeno-san made the other day, because Natsukawa-san felt somewhat concerned. However, Ikeno-san didn't seem to be worried at all. On the other hand, she was working even harder, and Natsukawa-san told her she didn't have to carry the same number of books as her because Ikeno-san was very careful with books and shouldn't overwork herself. Natsukawa-san thought Ikeno-san really laughed in an adorable way, then wondered what was up with her smile. Natsukawa-san realized this was how Ikeno-san looked normally, and told her she would look more adorable if she showed her face more, wondering why she usually hid her face like that. Ikeno-san asked if that was true, and Natsukawa-san thought it was great that Ikeno-san also had a good relationship with Sasaki-san, even if she only saw her from time to time, but she thought it was possible that she was starting to open up more with Ikeno-san. And when she felt the growth of Ikeno-san, she felt like her leaving from the part-time job was near. Wataru's sister was surprised to see him, and Ikeno-senpai was also there. Wataru's sister wondered if Wataru got a part-time job there without telling their mom, and asked if he wanted to eat together since he was already finished working, but he wondered why Ikeno-san was suddenly hiding behind her. Wataru's sister insisted their relationship was only because of the part-time job, but Ikeno-senpai asked Wataru to go away for now and suggested they go somewhere cooler, but Wataru's sister was hesitant to leave her sister. Wataru's sister was glad to have found a place where people who knew her couldn't find her, but Ikeno-senpai told Wataru not to worry about it, and Yuri-senpai wondered if Wataru was dating her and asked if she heard it from Mina. Ikeno-san asked if Wataru's sister knew why her sister started working there, saying she didn't ask directly but had an idea and wondered if she never told Wataru anything this whole time, then asked Wataru's sister to listen to her for a moment. Wataru's sister told him to speak. Wataru's sister thought about how close she had become to Yuri-chan, and realized Yuri-chan had become the most important person to her. She thought it wasn't weird for them to want to read and sleep together, but then wondered if they were sleeping together at that age, and insisted Ikeno-san should say something clearly because Ikeno-san has the choice of what she thinks about her brother. Wataru's sister admitted she already belonged to Yuri-san and told Mina to go back to how she was before, because she didn't have to force herself to do it, and Yuri-chan wouldn't care about something like this. She apologized to Ikeno-san for making her wait. Yuri-chan arrived, and Wataru's sister said she didn't think the problem was just the two of them, saying it had been a long time since she had seen Saju-kun. Mina apologized, but said she heard she was really surprised that she started the part-time job, and asked if it was because she started dating her brother. She said she would prefer she didn't worry so much, and was surprised that she had done something so difficult for herself just for that, and that she didn't need to continue with her part-time job because she wasn't going to do as before, urging her to come back to her brother. Wataru's sister sighed at the two of them. Wataru asked if she could at least listen to what Ikeno-san had to say. Wataru recounted how Ikeno-san got a part-time job to be independent from her older brother, who had a girlfriend, but he discovered the place where Ikeno-san works, and even his brother's girlfriend came to tell him to quit the job and return to his older brother. Wataru's sister asked them to listen to what Ikeno-san wanted to say, explaining that Ikeno-san was giving her all at the part-time job, and even though it was difficult at first, she was handling it well. She couldn't stay quiet as her senpai at work, and didn't understand why they were assuming Ikeno-san was suffering because of her part-time job. Wataru's sister said she heard from Ikeno-san that she started this part-time job to become independent, but that was just a facade, and the real problem was leaving Mina alone, feeling jealous that her beloved brother had been taken from her, so she started a part-time job to escape from that uncomfortable reality. Wataru wondered how old his senpais thought Ikeno-san was, since she was already in high school and had the right to become an adult, explaining that the loneliness and jealousy were unbearable for her. But Ikeno-san chose to repress those feelings and choose to be independent despite the difficulties, deciding to keep working with determination. Wataru's sister argued that Ikeno-san was doing it so that it didn't hinder the relationship between the two of them, and asked why they would still tell her to quit, saying that once siblings become independent, It doesn't mean they can't laugh together again. Wataru's sister told them to wait until Ikeno-san's feelings had calmed down, saying that as her senpai at work, she thought Ikeno-san should decide her own future, as Ikeno's Mina was trying to become an adult, and those words were important to her, and she also wanted to become a more reliable older sister for her brother. Ikeno-san apologized for making them come, but Wataru's sister told Mina to go home and not worry. She told them to go ahead first. Wataru's sister said it would be uncomfortable to continue talking after everything that happened, saying it didn't matter if it was right or wrong, and they were no longer at work, acknowledging she was being stubborn and acted in the wrong way. But as long as she knew what she was going to do later, everything would be all right. Wataru's sister thought she should tell her this properly, saying it was normal for a younger sister to distance herself from her older brother after he gets a girlfriend, admitting she had some problems at her part-time job, but that wasn't the question, and from her point of view, she was doing the best she could. She told Ikeno-san that after everything that happened, she still had the intention of continuing with her part-time job, right? Wataru's sister saw the determination she gave to work, and she managed to surprise her over and over again, saying that after finding out about that, she thought each action had its own weight according to Ikeno-san's perspective, and even if she was still just a child right now, she had the determination and courage to become an adult. Someone asked why she had been working so hard until now, stating that as her superior, she could assure her that she did a great job, and everything that happened that time only scratched her, clarifying she apologized for every mistake she made, and she even went through an unpleasant moment, but she still made an effort to serve the clients, and sometimes she even gave her something or other suggestions. Wataru's sister declared she couldn't throw everything she had achieved in the trash. Wataru's sister realized she made her coworker kneel and cry, but she didn't see sadness in her tears. She reflected on her summer vacation, as Wataru greeted Ashida and Natsukawa-san, who asked if she had difficulties at her part-time job. Wataru thought dealing with girls was complicated, as Natsukawa-san asked what happened, and if she was dating a middle school girl at her work. Wataru's sister said she made her part-time coworker kneel, and she would invent something so they didn't find out the girl was Ikeno-san, adding that she helped her become independent from her older brother. Natsukawa-san told her she knew she did the best she could. Wataru's sister thought that thanks to Wataru giving her the necessary motivation, that shy girl managed to take a step forward, as Natsukawa-san asked if she was worried about her. Wataru's sister greeted Ikeno-san, telling her to stop hiding behind the door and to have more confidence, as the narration explained that Ikeno's Mina cut her long bangs after things calmed down. Wataru's sister thought she would get nervous if she kept watching Ikeno-san, noting how beautiful she was. The girl who collapses read a book, and it seemed that Ikeno-san told the senpais that she would still be at the part-time job, even though they no longer insisted on her leaving it. Wataru's sister called Ikeno-san her beautiful guardian angel, realizing she was the one who sits next to Wataru. Wataru's sister wanted them to separate, saying it was true, and that Ikeno-san looked cute with her bangs cut. Wataru's sister asked Wataru if he was close with Ikeno-san before the summer vacation, wondering if she was the girl he was mentioning before. Wataru's sister startled Wataru, who was surprised to see her. Wataru wondered if he was in heaven, as he was suddenly invited to the beach by Ashida, and Natsukawa-san was there too. Wataru's sister told them to have fun and apologized for staring, saying she was going to get some yakisoba. She then asked Wataru what he was thinking about. Natsukawa-san smiled and thanked him after he complimented her swimsuit, saying it was summer. The narrator thanked everyone for reading until the end, saying he'd gained many valuable experiences. After that, Wataru asked Ashita to tell him all about Aizawa Rina's previous relationship with her boyfriend, Kazuki Aramura. Wataru wore a disguise so the senpais wouldn't recognize him. Wataru thought that Kazuki Aramura's hair was shorter than in the pictures he saw, and that he seemed good at sports. Ashita understood the magical appeal of those bangs, saying there was something dreamy about a girl who hides her forehead. She preferred Saju-senpai from the third year. Ashita added that if her mood got worse, she wouldn't hesitate to take his Hamburg steak away. Ashita revealed that the girl Aramura-senpai chose was not Aizawa Rina, and he likely dumped Aizawa. Ashita asked if Wataru had been dumped recently, finding it hard to believe. He revealed that he was the one who got dumped by Aizawa. Wataru realized that Aizawa Rina might have fallen in love with him, Wataru Saju, and broken up with Aramura-senpai because of it, but he quickly dismissed it. Wataru wondered why Aramura-senpai had mentioned Natsukawa-san, and he questioned his ability to solve relationship problems. He considered flirting with Aizawa Rina, even if he was being fooled. Ashita noticed Wataru's frown and told him to stop thinking about his own shortcomings. Ashita told him to stop it. Ashita realized Wataru was thinking about Aizawa Rina. Wataru thought he might get information from their girly network and asked them about Aizawa and Aramura. Ashita was surprised by the soft sensation on his back. Natsukawa-san asserted that even a commoner had the right to know what was going on. She asked if they were in the middle of something and told Aizawa Rina to move aside, calling Wataru a pervert. Ashita asked why she was there since it wasn't lunchtime yet. Aizawa Rina claimed she just wanted to talk to Wataru, and Ashita noted they hadn't been meeting as frequently lately. Wataru thought it might be a sign that she had a 95% chance of liking him. Natsukawa-san demanded Aizawa Rina tell them the reason why she broke up with her ex-boyfriend. Wataru was distracted by Ashita's presence. Ashita wondered why Natsukawa-san asked such an unexpected question, sensing a fight brewing between the women. Natsukawa-san suggested Aizawa Rina forget about her ex and have a good time with Wataru. Aizawa Rina told her to stop talking badly about her ex-boyfriend. Wataru realized he was scared and thought that chasing after Aizawa Rina wasn't necessary. He admitted he found her cute but didn't have romantic feelings for her. Wataru acknowledged Ashita's bluntness. He realized that doing nothing wouldn't resolve the situation and that he might get into more trouble because of it. The story continues. Eika was surprised by Wataru's attitude and called him a plebeian, but then admitted he was cute. Eika said she'd let it slide just for the occasion, and wondered if Aizawa Rina could make such expressions as well. She recalled Wataru always talking about Natsukawa-san when they were alone. Wataru explained that he learned not to talk about other women when with one, and Eika seemed happy about it. She asked if he still liked Natsukawa-san. Eika pointed out that everyone knew about his feelings for Natsukawa-san and reminded him of his past actions. She compared their current relationship to that of an idol and a fan. Wataru realized he only had eyes for Natsukawa-san. Eika summarized that Aizawa Rina still liked her ex-boyfriend. Eika explained that she heard directly from Aramura-senpai that he liked Natsukawa-san from the first year, but they said she dumped him. She added that Aramura-senpai might have fallen in love at first sight with Natsukawa-san because she's cute, pretty, and cool. Eika continued, saying that Aizawa realized this and decided to dump him, wanting Aramura-senpai to only look at her, but his cowardly attitude only made him agree to her breaking up. She speculated that Aizawa currently holds a grudge against Natsukawa-san. Eika realized that Wataru had always been around Natsukawa-san. She thought Wataru could be easily taken away and mistakenly thought they were going out, approaching him because of his obsession with Natsukawa-san. Eika figured Natsukawa would be heartbroken if Aizawa took Wataru away from her, and she would finally dump him. Eika suggested that Wataru probably didn't care about her at all because he had Natsukawa-san. She admitted he couldn't change someone's feelings that easily, and Wataru realized this was a tough situation for someone mediocre like him to handle. Wataru wondered what he could do, realizing he had never been in such a situation before and couldn't come up with an idea. He questioned how to make the situation better. Eika declared she would make him jump into the Natsukawa-san rabbit hole as well. Eika felt like she gained 5 years of life. She thought the way Aizawa could talk so fluently was her true self, and her ability to deceive a man with just her charm was terrifying. Eika wondered if Aizawa would approach him if he had never chased Natsukawa-san. He thought he wouldn't have been caught up in this mess to begin with, but getting to know such a cute girl made him happy. Eika realized it was really important to understand one's status and position, and he could have avoided being alone like this. He caught himself hoping for something. Eika was embarrassed when Aizawa Rina invited Wataru to eat lunch together. The story continues. Eika didn't know how, but after that day, whenever she woke up, her lunch box ended up becoming 500 yen. She thought she recognized the voice of someone asking her to take something. Natsukawa-san thought people might be misunderstanding something, but talking to Aizawa Rina alone felt like a precious reward. Wataru realized he was now infatuated with another girl, which he found gross, and it was hard to believe he used to be so into Eika. Eika didn't understand what Wataru was saying about Natsukawa-san, and it seemed like Aizawa Rina was expecting too much for her own good. Aizawa Rina must have realized that even men have feelings, and that Aramura-senpai got the one thing that made Aizawa Rina attached to him. Eika was surprised to hear him say Natsukawa, and insisted it was too late for that now. Wataru thought this outcome was for the best, but still wondered why Natsukawa-san wasn't understanding what he said. The narrator apologized for potential English grammar errors and expressed gratitude for the series' growing popularity, urging people to support the official release. Wataru wondered where he should eat lunch, as Eika always stared at him, so he decided to eat outside the classroom under a tree. He noticed a girl who looked like she needed help. The girl who collapses was surprised to be called out, wondering if Wataru was bothering her, since he always kept his distance. The girl who collapses insisted she was fine, and Wataru realized it was natural for her to be wary of him. Aizawa Rina greeted him, thinking that the main character is always a good-looking guy. Aizawa Rina continued, noting that the main character in mangas always meets his destined girl, and that pretty girls wouldn't be with them without any effort. Aizawa Rina surprised Wataru by getting very close to him, but then she caught herself. Aizawa Rina admitted that she had slipped up, and that she should act cooler, realizing that she was overdoing the trend. Wataru thought it had been 2 weeks since he stopped acting like a stalker, and he wondered why Aizawa Rina was now talking to him. A girl asked Wataru if he needed something, but Wataru asked her to stop calling him that. Aizawa Rina wondered why Natsukawa-san was there. Aizawa Rina apologized for borrowing him for a moment, telling Natsukawa-san to let's go, senpai. Aizawa Rina said that Wataru had the qualities needed from the student council president, and that he had some rational sense, apologizing for suddenly calling him there. Aizawa Rina asked Wataru what he thought of himself, and Wataru wondered what was with that question. Aizawa Rina had heard that Wataru was pursuing a girl, but Wataru asked her to forget it. Wataru thought that his sister probably didn't know about Natsukawa-san. Wataru's sister looked confused with the change, saying that his change wasn't bad, at least for them. Wataru's sister wondered what was wrong, saying that she thought that was normal. Wataru realized that his sister had been the one who taught him many things when he was small, and she had always been like that. Wataru's sister thought that he wasn't satisfied with the situation, but Wataru felt relieved because he didn't need to disclose his embarrassment from now on. Wataru wondered if Natsukawa-san was talking to him about this because she didn't want to see his sister sad, or because he made her sad. Natsukawa-san wondered if Wataru had noticed how good his face looked, and then she got arrogant and experienced something painful when she fell. Wataru had already prepared the stage, but he still couldn't believe his sister cried. Wataru didn't want to see his family cry, and just imagining his sister crying somewhere he didn't know made him feel weird. Wataru's sister wondered why Rin was there, asking if she meant Shinomiya Rin and if they knew each other. The student council president revealed that Hanawa lied, and Wataru's sister heard that he cried, leading to an awkward moment, as she was caught crying by her own brother. Wataru's sister asked what was good about her, demanding 5 things, and got nervous when he suggested she cried because she was worried about him. Wataru's sister wondered if she was worried about him because he stopped pursuing a girl he admired, wanting to know the reason. Wataru's sister told him to stop, pointing out that she had already named almost 20 things. She realized he also thought of her as normal and wondered why she was worried. Wataru's sister thought that he might be reflecting on a sad story, but insisted it was just a story about him becoming cold, wondering why he wasn't saying anything. Wataru's sister wondered if he was still hung up on Natsukawa-san or helpless, but he told her not to worry, because he didn't want to forget Natsukawa-san. Wataru's sister admitted that even though he was normal, she might have been too harsh, so he shouldn't take it to heart. She wondered why he gave up on a girl he had always gone after and told him to fix it, promising not to make fun of him anymore. Wataru's sister asked if he intended to regain his self-confidence by lowering his voice, wondering what had to be fixed, and Wataru wondered who was treating him so gently. Wataru's sister asked if he was telling her he wanted to destroy their relationship, insisting he didn't have a gentle sister like that. Wataru's sister was back to her old self, and he said that if she kept acting like a gentle sister, his hopes might be granted, but he was still filled with frustration. Wataru's sister told him to stop worrying, because it was just a bother. Wataru was embarrassed, realizing he'd essentially asked his sister to just be her usual self, wondering what kind of joke he'd made, and vowing to never talk seriously with her again. Wataru's sister asked if he was okay, and he wondered why she was acting nice, even if she didn't care, before asking if she could just buy him meatloaf whenever he asked. Natsukawa-san wondered why Wataru was talking to his own sister like that, and Wataru wondered if she had heard everything. Wataru's sister told him to stop, saying he was frozen, and that he should hurry up and apologize, but he was more afraid of Natsukawa-san than his sister. Wataru's sister told him not to say anything, and Natsukawa-san told him not to complain, before Natsukawa-san asked Saju-chan to come with her for a second, claiming they were saving him. Wataru thought his head had become a flower garden, apologizing, and Natsukawa-san said it was nothing, asking him to do something later, so he wasn't sure if the problem was resolved or not. Wataru wondered how he had ended up at a restaurant. Wataru asked Natsukawa-san if she was sure about this, since she had mentioned needing to prepare something, and she said she needed to prepare herself mentally for what was about to happen at his house, but then told him not to call her cute. Natsukawa-san described the situation as entering the Demon Lord's castle, saying she was so nervous she felt like she was going to die, but she insisted it was just a regular house, then told him not to keep up the act in front of his sister. Natsukawa-san warned him that he couldn't give the same older brother vibe that Sasaki has, which made sense to Wataru, since he was the younger brother, and she asked how Sasaki interacted with her, but he denied ever having interacted with her. Natsukawa-san told him that her mother was out, so they would have to sneak in quietly, because if someone saw him from outside, it would look like she was bringing a guy home, but she wondered what was so strange about it since they had known each other for 2.5 years. Wataru recognized Natsukawa-san's faint, sweet scent in the air throughout the house, and he vowed to hold it together, setting his mission goal as meeting Natsukawa-san's younger sister without being found out by the others in the Natsukawa household, with a time limit until dinner time at his own house. Wataru greeted Natsukawa's younger sister, Eri, internally congratulating himself on completing his mission, but Natsukawa-san told him not to give her such a distant greeting, then introduced him as Saju Wataru, but Eri wondered where he thought he was going. Eri asked if Eika had brought her friends from school again, and Eika confirmed that Saju-kun was with her, but Natsukawa-san's mother corrected her, saying it was just this boy, but Eika insisted that her mom was wrong and they were going to use Eri's room, wondering if her mother had planned to use her room today. Natsukawa-san reminded Wataru that the woman was Natsukawa's mother, and he thought that she might be someone hard to approach, but Natsukawa-san's mother apologized for intruding, saying it was fine that they were there, but Natsukawa-san told her not to act so cute in front of Eri. Natsukawa-san asked if Wataru meant Takaki, then introduced Wataru to Eri, encouraging Wataru to introduce himself too, and he agreed, saying his name was hard to say, so Eri could just call him Saju. Natsukawa-san told him not to act like a child, then asked Eri who was more good-looking, Takaki or Wataru, but Eri chose Takaki. Natsukawa-san gave Wataru instructions on how to carry Eri, saying it was stable and comfortable for the child, then asked for Wataru's opinion on whether black hair or brown hair suited her better. Natsukawa-san told him not to act like her sister, and Wataru began to wonder if he was in heaven, but he realized he didn't understand the terror of playing with kids. Eri told him to go faster, but Wataru was going too slow, and she asked if he was okay. Natsukawa-san warned it was dangerous to run too much, and Wataru thought it would be nice to be doted on, but he knew he wasn't capable, and he was judged as someone reliable who could be rough with kids, realizing that kids change their moods on a whim. Eri called him gross, and Natsukawa-san insisted she didn't teach her that, then said she was tired. Natsukawa-san said not to do that, and asked if Wataru was okay, saying it was fresh seeing him with that kind of expression, asking if he was satisfied now. Natsukawa-san knew he was worrying about something and that it was painfully obvious, and Wataru admitted there were still some things he wanted to ask her, then asked where she usually went for lunch. Natsukawa-san revealed she had lunch with Shinomiya-senpai and others from the Public Morals Committee, and Wataru wondered about their relationship, but she claimed it was just by chance and that Shinomiya-senpai was also friends with Wataru's sister. Natsukawa-san asked if Wataru could just eat with them like before, but he thought that someone might distance themselves if he was around, deciding it might be better to keep his distance for Natsukawa-san's sake. And with that thought, his mind went blank. Natsukawa-san asked Wataru to say something and not ignore her, insisting she wasn't bullying him, swearing she wasn't, then she hit him. Natsukawa-san wondered if she might end up acting too familiar with Wataru and do something weird again, saying next time she would head in his direction only if Natsukawa was fine with it, deciding that even if they established a sense of friendship as a group, they shouldn't get too close as members of the opposite sex. Natsukawa-san asked if he promised, and Wataru wondered if he was having a bittersweet dream. Natsukawa-san insisted it wasn't just bittersweet but too sweet, and once you've tasted it, you can't forget it, deciding that he needed to calm down and reflect on his past actions. Natsukawa-san insisted she was calling it a day, claiming her batteries had run out, and then she collapsed. Wataru wondered what he should do with his hair and realized again how amazing Natsukawa-san's feminine charm was. But Natsukawa-san said she wasn't talking about what was inside his head, but his hair color, and Wataru said the only way to fix his head was to start over again from grade school. Natsukawa-san said if he had brown hair, she might not have called out to him that time, but either way was fine, and Wataru wondered if she meant when they first met 2.5 years ago. But Natsukawa-san said it wasn't about preference, so Wataru said he would go with what Natsukawa-san preferred, but she said she was fine with either, so he should go with the safer choice. Natsukawa-san thanked him for the day, and Wataru said not to worry about it. He was just glad he got to meet the legendary Eri-chan, worrying that it may have come across as snide. Wataru's sister said it stinks in there, but they just had dinner, so it should be fine, and she got her mom's permission too, and Wataru wondered if there was something blacker than black, and his sister asked if he was going for black. Wataru's sister told him not to half-ass it just because the roots were black, but Wataru said not to do it so hard. She would pull the roots out, and she responded that who cares, as long as he doesn't end up bald. Everything in this world is hereditary, so he would be fine. Wataru's sister said it would stay that way for about a week, and wondered if it wasn't a bit too black, but it was an unnatural kind of black, not really like her highlights. Wataru realized he had gone down to 65th in the rankings, and he remembered he was ranked 32nd for the midterm, and he'd been doing his best to catch up to Eika, and wondered what unpleasant experience he could improve on from this place. After the test, he thought about the vexing young lady's attacks. Aizawa Rina apologized, saying she placed 74th, and the top 100 would be posted later, and she saw Wataru placed 65th, which was lower than last time, and she had expected him to be in the top 50, but it was unexpected. Wataru told her she was an idiot, and he was ranked 202nd last time, so he'd significantly improved, and Yamazaki asked Wataru what he ranked, and Ashida, despite being busy with the volleyball club, studied really hard, and he ranked 230th, and his motivation for next time was to not lose to this girl. Several days later, he overheard people talking about Shinonome, Claudine Marika, and Eika achieving the highest rank, and someone said they were getting in the way of her studies, and Hei said to split it in half with Mei. He was asked if his little sister had stolen his ranking, and it was pointed out that he had dropped considerably, placing 29th. Someone told him he had said something terrible and hoped all his passes ended up offsides, and if he wanted to brag to Natsukawa-san, that rank was no good, and that she had a foreign exchange student's name. Eika said that Natsukawa-san and Ashida had told her he needed to eat better, and oddly enough, he had bought a bento, and he was going to fulfill the promise he made to Eri-chan. Eika asked where he was going, and he thought that the day after he risked nearly forgetting his promise to have lunch with Natsukawa-san, and he wondered if she had some mind link with Natsukawa-san. He knew if he got too close, Natsukawa-san would say he was being too clingy again, so he kept his distance, and Eika said that Iyabashi-san controlled the class environment and didn't let the class misfits do as they liked, and that today was the second time. He was told it wasn't anything great, and Iyabashi-san simply didn't want some weirdo to be the center of the class, making her uncomfortable, and Eika asked Wataru if he had talked with Natsukawa-san lately, but sometimes he did. Wataru wondered if Natsukawa-san was finally showing her full potential, and he hoped she and Eika had a good time after school, and he almost said too much. Wataru thought that the flashy blonde girl was the one who had been trying to sneak a peek into the student council room, and Eika asked what business she had with Natsukawa. Eika responded that she accidentally called out Natsukawa's name, and she asked if she knew her from somewhere, from when she was outside the student council room. Eika recalled seeing her peeking into that room and asked Marika-san if she was meeting with Yuuki-sama, and she seemed to be his fiancé. A girl thought that people from ordinary families didn't know how to socialize, and she was outraged that there wasn't an ounce of consideration for women. Eika reflected that just when she had decided to give up, unexpected events started happening, and she didn't know what was going on anymore. Wataru wondered if the students were split between the east and west sides, as his sister mentioned. Wataru's sister explained that the school separated students based on whether their families were investors, with classes A to C being the east side and D to F being the west. Wataru's sister thought that the east was strong in virtue, cohesion, appearance, and skills. Wataru recalled that Yuuki-senpai, who belonged to the west side, mediated the conflict, and his sister mentioned that the blonde girl was the daughter of the president of a French trading company. Wataru's sister explained that Hayato's family owned a local fabric brand, and she wondered why Marika wanted to become the next president. Wataru's sister exclaimed that it didn't end with just her, as she thought about Natsukawa-san. Wataru wondered what was happening as everyone gathered, and he questioned what he had done wrong. Wataru's sister asked Meikai about what happened yesterday, referring to Eri-chan pushing her, and pressed for details. Someone explained that when everyone came to play, Eri dove towards Ihoshi-san, mentioning Wataru's name, and added that Ihoshi-san became a substitute. Wataru's sister recalled saying she wouldn't let them meet, but then she coincidentally met Eri-chan while shopping. Natsukawa was surprised he saw her, and then Eri-chan tackled her, resulting in an even fight that was settled by an eclair, so it was all Wataru's fault. The incident ended, but he felt suspicious about the East versus West situation, and he decided to remain alert. A girl noticed a drenched young man, commenting on his dead expression and questioning why he wasn't wearing his jersey. She saw the price tag was still on it and remarked that he must be going through a rough time. Eika was shocked to find Wataru asleep, noting he was an even better sleeper than Eri. She wondered why he seemed so exhausted, but decided to wait for her body to dry first. The narrator described a sad clam being drained of its water, then a plastic tap appeared, and the clam begged for water. The clam panicked as it was flooded with water. The narrator continued the metaphor, saying the clam couldn't forget the euphoria of being full of water. When the clam was thirsty again, it looked for the tap, but it was broken. The tragedy slowly faded as he felt himself floating upwards. Wataru realized he had fallen asleep and wondered how long he was out. He recognized the history teacher's voice and realized he had slept for a while. He couldn't raise his head and felt a headache. Wataru apologized to Ashida, explaining he couldn't answer right now. Ashida told Wataru he was finally awake, reminding him to be well-equipped next time he leaves the house and that it was not a reason to give up on his studies. She asked if he could go to the infirmary. Ashida told him to go ahead, but to remember to revise before the next class. She realized she should have waited until after class and noticed a girl swaying. The girl who collapses told Wataru to hang in there. The narrator reflected on his own junior high experience, where he began to put on a facade. He realized he forgot to maintain his guard. The girl who collapses worried they would think she was lame. She thought it would be better to leave than become a clown. The narrator remembered how he forgot to move, mesmerized as he got to know her. The girl who collapses asked Wataru if he was awake, and noted he had been asleep for over an hour since he collapsed. She wondered why she was so worried about him, and if he was okay. The girl who collapses thought it felt like when someone in the family falls ill and wondered why she was so concerned about him, even more than just lending a hand. She brought Wadharu's bag and thought he had been nothing but a burden to her all this time, so she wondered why he was occupying so much of her thoughts now. The girl who collapses asked Wadharu why he was sleeping and told him to say something if he was awake. Natsukawa-san asked if he was feeling nauseous and offered him pakuri. She apologized for causing a commotion. The girl who collapses wondered what she meant and asked what was wrong. The girl who collapses told Wadharu he was being visited by two girls and should at least talk to them a bit more. She apologized and said he didn't need to talk anymore. The girl who collapses wondered if she would know that when she touched him. She noted his face looked pale and seemed cold, and wondered if he had a fever and said she didn't want to spread it to others. The girl who collapses wondered what was happening and asked what she should do, saying she didn't mean to come with such intentions, realizing it wasn't appropriate. She asked what was wrong, noting Wadharu was weakened. The girl who collapses said she had something to do, explaining she heard he was in the library when she went to the classroom. She asked what was wrong with that. Wadharu's sister arrived and asked if he was fine, noting his head hurt. She observed he had a fever and said it was on the higher side. Wadharu's sister asked if he had any bruising or injuries he didn't remember, explaining the fever was making his memory fuzzy. She wondered if it was okay that he forgot about it. She saw him hit the door when he collapsed, but Keed said it would be okay. Wadharu's sister said she didn't want to worry Eika, wondering if it was fine for him to get sick. She thought he didn't care, and she didn't like seeing the two of them touching him however they liked, unlike with them. Wadharu's sister offered to get something cold for him, suggesting an energy jelly might be right. She said she'd call their mom, adding that he probably hadn't contacted anyone anyway. Wadharu's sister felt uneasy, sensing he seemed more relaxed than before, as if saying there was nothing to worry about anymore. It was a weekday afternoon, and Wadharu took the day off school, exhausted from coughing and a runny nose. He wondered if he was still alive, thinking being alive was wonderful as he relaxed comfortably. He thought he needed to clear his mind, but even thinking about that gave him a headache. Wadharu was sleeping, thinking it was game over. He wondered what was going on, asking if he should ditch Ashita and Natsukawa. He heard a doorbell and was surprised by the close-up view. Natsukawa-san said it was good to see him, asking if he was still alive. She said everyone was terrified when he suddenly collapsed at the start of his cold. She was relieved that Eika knew Wadharu's house, explaining that Eika had asked Yamazaki-kun beforehand. Natsukawa-san said she had a quick errand to run. Eika looked it up for her, and Keiji had suggested they visit him today. Natsukawa-san thought Wadharu liked Eika. Natsukawa-san asked if it wasn't a bit late. She told him that Natsukawa-san was cute today as well. They confirmed Wadharu was alive, so Natsukawa-san said they should leave. She offered some yogurt for him to eat. Natsukawa-san said it would be bad if she got infected, so it was fine. She wondered if he didn't want them to leave, and she thought it was cruel. Wadharu thought she was taking Natsukawa-san home with her, but Eika left anyway. Wadharu managed to recover from his cold and catch up on schoolwork. Ashita said he was going to have chiquitos and headed to the cafeteria. Aizawa Rina said she heard he had a fever and asked if he was feeling better. She told him there was a reason she came to find him and that she wanted to ask him something earlier, but he collapsed. Aizawa Rina asked if he would like to join the Public Morals Committee. She explained she was only in charge until autumn but couldn't find enough male juniors to take over, saying the girls just wanted the status of being part of the committee. Aizawa Rina said there were events such as the cultural festival and sports festival, and students were required to join some kind of committee. She hoped he could support the committee the same way he had given her advice back then, saying the committee would be glad to have him. Wataru wondered if there was ever a time when he was this sought after. Aizawa Rina asked him to take care of her. Aizawa Rina's sudden closeness startled Wataru, and he wondered what was happening. Wataru was flustered by Aizawa Rina's unexpected actions, saying he was still recovering and she was being too forceful. Wataru thought joining the Public Morals Committee was a pain. Aizawa Rina noticed he was sweating and fixed his hair, which surprised him. Wataru wondered why Aizawa Rina was acting so touchy-feely, and noticed the Cultural Festival Committee was being decided. Wataru explained the Cultural Festival Committee was formed each year and required a boy and girl from each class. He knew Natsukawa-san would stand up, but was surprised others didn't. Someone told Wataru to volunteer, but he was still feeling ill. The class decided to play rock, paper, scissors to decide. Tabata said they hadn't talked in months, and since they needed a boy and a girl, they should split up. Tabata told him to just do it already. Then someone volunteered, saying Sasaki was already in the football club. It was decided Natsukawa-san would be the female representative. Wataru realized that was why he had volunteered. Sasaki declared he could juggle both commitments if he put in more effort. He knew about Wataru's feelings for Natsukawa-san. Wataru thought Sasaki and Natsukawa-san made a handsome pair, and in the end, they didn't play the game. Sasaki said he was counting on Natsukawa. Wataru felt a sting in his chest, like people upset when their idols were in a scandal, because she was with someone else he didn't know. Someone commented that Sasaki and Natsukawa-san looked good together, and asked Wataru how he could remain so normal. Natsukawa-san told Sasaki to stay strong, but to be careful not to make any mistakes regarding her. She realized it was time to send her regular reports to her brother-complexed friend. Wataru thought his summer holidays would be spent lazing around and playing games, but he needed money. He managed to find a minimum-wage job at a deserted, old second-hand bookstore. The noise from the railway line was sometimes annoying. Another selling point of this minimum-wage job was that the work was easy. The owner opened the store due to his hobby. The owner told him to organize the books and serve the customers, and that he would handle the more complicated work. Wataru reported to the owner that he was done with the organizing. He thought it was more relaxing than his previous part-time job. The owner said hiring him was the correct decision, even though there was a blonde guy with face piercings who applied. The owner told Wataru he could end work early, and that he would still give him the full 5 hours worth of pay. Wataru casually ate a meat bun. He couldn't believe his day ended just like that. He noticed some middle schoolers were picking on an elementary school kid, and felt he couldn't ignore them. Wataru told them to calm down. They acted more confrontational than he thought. He pretended to call the police, which scared them off. Wataru asked the elementary schooler if he was hurt, and said he would really call the police this time if he was. The boy said he was fine and that his name was Sasaki Kauta. Wataru gripped the phone. The girl who collapses shouted, relieved, as she ran toward Sasaki Kauta. Wataru's sister thanked God he was all right. She thanked Wataru for helping him and gripped his hand. Wataru thought about how it had been a week since he started working at the second-hand bookstore during summer break. He thought the girl who collapses was an angel and that she smelled amazing. Wataru's sister said she was on her way to school. He complimented her, calling her a beautiful woman at a major women's college. Wataru's sister thanked him again for helping her little brother. She said he handled it in a mature manner and asked if he had a request. Wataru's sister asked if he had any tips for studying. He said he used to like someone, but realized she was out of his league after entering high school. Wataru's sister asked if Sasaki-san would find studying more bearable if she focused on her crush. She was surprised he thought she had no experience with boys. Wataru's sister wondered if she was considering their conversations as experience with guys. He doubted he would ever understand women. Wataru enjoyed his after-work cafe latte and saw he had several notifications. He noticed Ashita-chan had been trying to reach him and that everyone thought he was dead. Wataru's sister asked if he had seen Sajaki and if she should apologize. Wataru said he had been busy at work and joked that he had been hanging out with a cute college girl. Wataru's sister asked if he could come to school the day after tomorrow to help the disciplinary committee. She explained that the school visit for next year's prospective students was scheduled. Wataru wondered if she was joking about how he previously helped the student council and disciplinary committee. She explained that last year's student council pushed it off on the disciplinary committee, and she didn't want to owe Rin anything, so she was asking him. Wataru's sister mentioned Shinamiya-senpai, so he realized she had been handling her disciplinary matters. He owed her one and agreed to help Rin, as she seemed to like him. Wataru's sister spoke with Shinamiya-senpai on the phone, explaining that Wataru would help out since she was busy. Wataru's sister sounded flustered and told him not to worry about it. She didn't want him looking at her like that, but Wataru had been reborn. Wataru's sister also wanted to see Shinamiya-senpai, which surprised Wataru. Wataru's sister asked if the call had cut off and if Shinamiya-senpai was okay after a crash. She explained it was just a childish prank and asked for help with transporting materials. Wataru said he would gladly do it for Shinamiya-senpai. Wataru's sister wondered if it was okay for her to get emotionally close to her brother, but then told her to do as she liked. The day of the school visit arrived, and Aizawa Rina greeted Wataru, noting it had been a while. She asked if he was joining the disciplinary committee and suggested they head to the meeting. Nearby, the Culture Festival Executive Committee met. The disciplinary council's meeting place was a classroom on the second floor of the North Wing, also a meeting room for prospective students. Aizawa Rina and another student greeted Wataru. Aizawa Rina mentioned they were also recruiting chaperones from the Culture Festival Executive Committee and regular students, including some from Wataru's class. She told him to take a seat. Eika greeted Wataru, admitting she didn't want to be noticed. She stated she wasn't there to compete with him and asked if they should start the meeting. The present disciplinary committee was predominantly made up of female students. Wataru was introduced as the helper and told they were short on male hands, so they were counting on him. Ikino-senpai said it was just part of the job, and Wataru was a lifesaver. She confirmed that there was one more in the third year and another in the second year. Ikino-senpai said her job at the bookstore had prepared her well for this. She thanked Wataru. Ikino-senpai revealed that the committee members had been pushing Wataru to work harder. She gave him thanks for today and mentioned Aizawa Rina had recommended him. She added that they felt bad because he was so willing to accept the work and admitted they were testing him. Ikino-senpai offered this as thanks and an apology. She asked if she could come over to Wataru's place after they were done today. A student asked Wataru what was up and noted that he looked exhausted. He was informed that thanks to his efforts, the gym was busier than ever. Wataru said there was no need to thank him because he imposed quite a burden on her. Ikino-senpai replied that she was in much better shape than he thought, and said she would be counting on him this afternoon as well. Wataru wondered what Ikino-senpai was doing so suddenly. She admitted it was not so bad doing this kind of thing with someone other than Yu occasionally, and told him not to be so embarrassed. The text is illegible. The narrator reflected on how the dreaming boy was now a realist. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the orientation. The student council president welcomed the middle school students to Koetsu High School, while the disciplinary committee ensured everyone would have a healthy school life. The orientation ended without a hitch. Eika asked Wataru if he could help compile the attendance and surveys from the session. She said she would organize and submit the report. Wataru realized his part-time job experience from middle school would come in handy. Eika said she wanted something sweet to eat. She mentioned Shinomiya-senpai was attending a meeting with teachers, and the principal and hadn't come back yet. Eika admitted she underestimated Wataru. Eika thought Shinomiya-senpai favored Wataru because he was Kid-san's younger brother, and she was jealous. She admitted Wataru was easy to talk to, so she naturally found herself chatting with him. She complimented him for directing everyone so well. Eika asked if Wataru did his work properly and said she worked hard enough to earn herself a treat. She added that she talked to Shinomiya-senpai and things felt normal again. She asked if Wataru was going to check on Natsukawa-san next door. Wataru thought Eika and Shinomiya-senpai looked good together, and it would be stupid to be jealous. He hoped the committee meeting would have a better atmosphere. His senior's gratitude made an impression on him. Eika felt stiff and wanted to go home. She wondered why she was feeling this way. Eika stretched her back. She seemed panicked. Wataru thought summer had been hectic. Someone suggested he chaperone the middle school students. They thought he and the teachers looked picturesque together. Eika said she had been busy lately with the culture festival, school visits, and club activities. She wondered if her life was truly fulfilling. She invited Natsukawa-san to watch the soccer club with her for a change of pace, but Natsukawa-san declined because she needed to take care of Eika. Eika reflected that Wataru had always been by her side, and she used to be annoyed when he came to see her. Thanks to him, she was able to open up to others and forgot her boredom. She wondered what this frustration she was feeling was. She recalled that both her parents worked, and there were happy moments with little Eri, but also many lonely and painful moments. That was when Wataru appeared. She remembered Wataru confessing to Natsukawa-san. He had spilled his lunch tray the day before. At the time, she was super busy with housework and rejected him, but that was just the beginning of Wataru's pursuit. She thought about how she was the first person Natsukawa-san could ask for help with math. She remembered how Wataru always irritated her, yet he never gave up, and gradually they came to be seen as an item. Eika thought about how Natsukawa was always followed and protected by Wataru. Before she knew it, she started talking to her classmates naturally, and Wataru would join them. She realized the time Wataru gave her was truly fulfilling. When they started preparing for high school entrance exams, Wataru didn't talk to her as much as he used to. Eika remembered wanting to go to the same high school as Wataru. Even in high school, her days began with Wataru by her side. Besides Kei, others also found Wataru's antics interesting and started talking to her. This was how she met her first friend, Kei, who introduced Eri to her. With such expectations in her heart, Eika started her high school life, believing she wouldn't be alone anymore and that her life was truly fulfilling. Yet, Eika thought Wataru had selfishly clung to her, and then selfishly distanced himself. Instead of feeling relieved, Eika only felt discomfort because Eri had gotten along with someone other than her. She had forced him to come to her house, and Wataru's presence had grown larger before she knew it. Kei was busy with her club, and Wataru had distanced himself, so she couldn't enjoy her precious summer break. Eika realized her feelings towards Wataru, who used to be annoying, had changed. Now, when Kei wasn't around, she became nothing but a timid and cowardly girl. She wasn't a perfect older sister and had become bored of her everyday life with Eri. Natsukawa asked Eika if she was okay, but Eika said it was nothing and told her to come on. Eika wondered why the feeling of unease in her chest was clearing up. Then someone asked Natsukawa if she was interested in Wataru. Someone asked Natsukawa-san which middle school she attended. She told the girl she had nothing to say to a child like her, and that this wasn't the place for that kind of conversation. Natsukawa-san said she would be giving a tour to the rest of them, so they should follow her. The tour ended, and Eika told everyone they were free to explore. Eika noticed Natsukawa-san could speak freely, and realized Wataru might be at the disciplinary committee briefing. Eika was impressed by the school briefing led by the seniors. She spotted Wataru and realized he was part of the disciplinary committee. Eika noticed Wataru hadn't spoken to her. Natsukawa-san said they had documents that needed to be finalized, and that she'd stop by the classroom to get her things. She wondered if Wataru had already left. Eika wondered if he had gone to the disciplinary committee. Eika knew Wataru could make that kind of face, and she also wanted to do her best as a member of the executive committee. She wanted to talk to him, but not right now. Eika apologized for being engrossed in something. Then someone noticed Natsukawa-san was getting a call, and someone else was asking her out. Another person told him to stop asking Natsukawa-san out for the 10th time. A girl who collapses made some noises. Eika sighed, saying she had something to say. She asked what Wataru was doing. Eika claimed she was just stretching her back. Natsukawa-san asked what that was about. She explained she was moving stuff. Natsukawa-san recalled seeing her help with that. The chapter title appeared, Natsukawa-san Still Feel Connected to You. Eika insisted it wasn't that she was lonely, just that it had been a while since she had seen him. Eika told him to knock it off, acting cute. She asked if they should go somewhere to talk since it had been a while. Eika was sweating, relieved that was close. Wataru was glad to see them. He said there was an upcoming tournament, so he had been busy. He gave Ashita money for drinks. Wataru explained he had a part-time job at a bookstore. He denied that a college girl was anything more than a regular customer. Someone said that was pretty harsh. Wataru ignored their gazes and talked about his wonderful encounter with Sasaki-san, claiming it all started on his way back from work. Eika noticed someone in that uniform. It was a student from Miss Hirohama Girls Junior High, a middle schooler. The middle schooler was glad she was able to see Wataru there because Koetsu High School was her dream school. Wataru was asked to help out. He asked why Sasaki-san was there. Wataru wondered if he had mistaken the middle school girl for a mature woman. Sasaki Fuka, a third-year student at Miss Hirohama Girls Junior High School, apologized for the delay and asked Wataru to take care of her. She vowed she would definitely get into Koetsu High School. Eika apologized to Wataru. She said she had looked everywhere for him after he suddenly disappeared. She asked which Wataru she was referring to, clarifying it wasn't her Wataru. She thought Sasaki-san seemed a bit different. Eika said it was getting dark, so she suggested they leave since Wataru's parents might worry if he stayed out too late. She told Fuka-chan to go. She said it was the world's most awkward moment and she was waking up from a dream. Someone asked Wataru if he had a second to speak. She mentioned he had said he would only be working at the second-hand bookstore until the end of summer break, so she had hired another part-timer, Mina-chan. She explained Mina-chan was originally one of their regular customers, so she was counting on him as her senior. Wataru felt like he had seen her somewhere before. He realized she might be Ikano-san, who sits next to him in class. Wataru thought it was awkward, but he greeted her. He acknowledged she was Ikano-san and that he was leaving after summer break. He said it was nice to meet her. A girl offered to cut Ikano-san's bangs for her, saying they bothered her. She asked if Ikano-san had any hairpins. Ikeno-san used the offered hairpins. Natsukawa-san ended up guiding Ikeno-san, her classmate, at their part-time job. The next day, Natsukawa-san instructed Ikeno-san to start by organizing the shelves while looking at the list of books sold yesterday. She said when it was time to work at the register, she would have Ikeno-san stand next to her and observe first. Suddenly, an eccentric customer showed up out of nowhere, complaining that Nishima Yukio was not present. Ikeno-san looked like she was about to cry. Wataru created 2 books for 260 yen. He made the customer give up. He asked Ikeno-san to please take over the register. Ikeno-san said she would handle it. Wataru told her it was still a job, so she had to provide customer service, especially to customers like that, because they got upset easily if she didn't handle them properly. He said it was okay if she cried since she was inexperienced, but that customer was weird. Wataru wondered if Ikeno-san thought she would improve at her job. She admitted it hurt a bit, but Wataru could tell that if she couldn't imagine herself getting better, maybe she should quit and manage with her allowance. Ikeno-san insisted she didn't want to quit and asked him not to make her. Wataru wondered what she was doing. Wataru apologized for speaking so harshly but said he saw she was motivated, so she should pick herself up and do her best starting tomorrow. He asked if she could organize the shelves. Natsukawa-san apologized for earlier and asked Ikeno-san why she wanted to work part-time in the first place. Ikeno-san said she wanted to be independent. Wataru wondered if it was because of family circumstances and realized he lacked sensitivity. Ikeno-san said it was because of her older brother. Natsukawa-san revealed she'd helped out the disciplinary committee before, and Ikeno-san's brother was a senior in the disciplinary committee. She said he seemed like a kind senior, and there was no need to distance herself. Ikeno-san said she loved her big brother, even now. One day, her brother brought a girl, Yuri-san, home, and from then on, she started coming to their house occasionally. Gradually, the time Ikeno-san spent with her brother decreased. Ikeno-san said it was very lonely when she got home, and there were shoes other than those of her family. Wataru told Ikeno-san to stop because he understood already, and just listening to this made him feel like he was dying. She couldn't just sit still, so she went upstairs and opened her brother's door without knocking. Ikeno-san said she saw her brother kissing Yuri-san, who was on top of him, and that's why she had to become independent. Wataru told her she was right. Wataru said he understood that must have been painful, and she should distance herself from her brother. He told Ikeno-san that he said she wasn't cut out for it, but Ikeno-san was serious. He said he couldn't just overlook this anymore and said it was nice to work with her again. The narrator said the entire school was now in preparation mode for the cultural festival, and old class representatives Sasaki and Natsukawa-san were especially busy. He asked Sasaki what he was writing, and Sasaki said he was working hard with Natsukawa-san every day. He said these were restricted files, and not to look. The narrator wondered if the committee members were really this busy right now. Natsukawa-san told him not to get heated about it. It was precisely because he's Sasaki that she handed Natsukawa-san over to him and said the two of them are a good match. She said she had already stepped down, and with Natsukawa-san at best, he'd be fighting a rivalry with himself. Aizawa Rina said upperclassmen have priority on choosing exhibits. She revealed their class's exhibit somehow turned into a trivia contest. She asked who knows what kind of questions will come up in the event, and told Wataru as long as they're easy enough for even him to solve, it's all good. Wataru asked if they weren't deciding on the contents of it now, and if she was making fun of him. Wataru noted how lively the atmosphere was, unlike those other guys. He thought Ikeno-san was so cute, and Natsukawa-san was goddess-like as usual. He noticed people were willing to talk to Ikeno-san too, and asked if she wasn't glad she got the courage to come out of her shell. Ikeno-san asked Saju-kun for help. Ikeno-san made a noise. Eika said it wasn't fair of Wataru to be flirting with Mina-chan when she was right there. She demanded to know what he thought he was doing. Natsukawa-san asked Wataru a question. Natsukawa-san said it wasn't like that. Wataru's sister called, and Eika said it was nice timing for a save. Wataru's sister asked if she was free and said Wataru was running away. Eika said he was the worst, and Natsukawa-san apologized. Wataru's sister asked why he called her there, and said he'd be joining the student council anyway. She said it might be interesting to see her sister's work being passed down to him. Wataru's sister told him to sit beside Takuto and take the documents from Yuyudai. She said Todoroki-senpai would end up delivering subpar work. Eika apologized and asked Wataru to spare some time. She wondered if the student council was really in such a predicament. Eika asked where to find the format for the documents. Someone said the content needed to be handwritten and asked why they couldn't just use the laptop. He said they had no choice but to do it by hand and asked Wataru to count on him. Wataru realized there weren't many personnel from the school itself. He asked his sister about the East versus West thing, but she told him to stop right there. Wataru thought most of the information was just a copy-paste from last year. Eika said his work spirit was bad and asked him to join the student council. She told him to come to the student council room tomorrow too and offered to treat him to lunch. Eika asked Wataru to help her carry some boxes. She asked Takuto to help him too. Kai said it had been a while since they walked together like this. He thought Wataru was suited to join the student council and complimented his problem-solving skills. Kai mentioned there were rumors he'd be next in line for president of the student council. He didn't mind being in the council, but he disliked the idea of being president. Kai revealed Wataru's sister recommended him, but she immediately backed off when he refused. Natsukawa-san asked how Kid-san normally was at home. Natsukawa-san didn't really want to talk about it, but admitted he was a part of the group that gathers around Wataru's sister. Wataru's sister said she was usually nude at home. She clarified it wasn't sexy at all. She explained she usually just shoves people away with her leg or wears a camisole or short pants. Kai said she would often hold him in a chokehold. Kai apologized and said he needed to go to the toilet for a bit. Wataru thought this was one of the worst ways he'd spent his time this year. The next day, Eika apologized and asked if she could make up for yesterday. She said he even got to eat Yuuki-senpai's bento as thanks. Eika greeted him. She wondered what was with that manner of speech. Eika stated they just wrapped up for today. Eika confirmed it was for the cultural festival. She said they were hitting the crucial point now and that Sasaki was there too. She thought it must be tough being this busy since summer break. Natsukawa-san agreed. Eika wondered if freshmen were assigned a lot of work. She thought the younger students would have an easier time, but because Sasaki was there shouldn't be that much of a problem. Eika then asked Wataru if they should go. Wataru wondered if she meant going home together. He thought he might die of shock and embarrassment if he got it wrong. Wataru realized he was walking beside Natsukawa-san. He wondered what was going on. The story continues. Eika's heart was pounding. Eika mentioned that they hadn't been alone together since the trial school experience during summer break, and it had been a while since they walked back together like this. She thought being in the cultural festival committee must be tough, and Sasaki was very hardworking, even doing work during break. Eika wondered if Sasaki breaking the rules was because the two of them were freshmen, and she wouldn't hold back. She decided to leave it to someone reliable like Sasaki rather than potentially messing it up herself. Wataru's sister thought there was no way he could depend on others like that. She asked him if he entered one-chan mode, like when Eri-chan was around. automatically assuming he must do it no matter what. A girl who collapses wondered what the Natsukawa sisters were saying, and if she accepted that they were inseparable. Wataru's sister felt like his words were painful. Wataru's sister thought having a sibling with a large age gap might be ideal, because she couldn't imagine her and Wataru arguing. She admitted that she was jealous of Eri-chan. Wataru's sister asked what it was like with his older sister at home. She insisted she wasn't talking about his sister. Wataru asked what a younger brother even did, requesting an example. He claimed he was more of a manservant than a younger brother. Wataru's sister was surprised and asked if Wataru cleaned his sister's ears. Natsukawa-san apologized, saying she couldn't meet their expectations. Wataru's sister apologized, saying she got too close. Wataru's sister wondered if no one had ever done that for Natsukawa-san before. She noticed someone nearby who looked like Saju. Wataru's sister recognized the voice as Haru, Wataru's school batchmate from elementary and middle school. She commented on his longer hair and gold mesh. Wataru's sister mentioned Haru was in the baseball club. She asked if Natsukawa-san went to the same high school as Hiro, then teased Haru for being too cold. She asked if they finally got together. Wataru's sister asked Natsukawa-san how Wataru was now that he didn't need to hold back, saying she was happy for them. She complimented Natsukawa-san's cuteness and skincare routine, then said it was good to have a boyfriend. Haru told her to stop. Wataru's sister realized they weren't in a relationship and apologized. Wataru said they were already done with that sort of thing. Natsukawa-san apologized for the misunderstanding and said they were just normal friends now. She said goodbye. Wataru's sister apologized to Natsukawa-san for her old friend's harassment. She asked about the Haru girl from earlier. Natsukawa-san said it was nothing after all. She wondered if she was the only one misunderstanding things and suggested they hurry home. Natsukawa-san told Wataru to wait. Natsukawa-san grabbed Wataru and told him not to flinch. Natsukawa-san apologized and told Wataru to ignore what she just did. She wondered if she had been acting weird the whole time. Wataru thought he had become complacent and dissatisfied. He realized he had started desiring Natsukawa-san again, which was why he made that face earlier. Natsukawa-san remembered Ashita lecturing her that Wataru was someone close to Eika's heart. She wondered if that was still the case. Natsukawa-san realized there was no longer a need for her to continue holding Wataru down. Natsukawa-san apologized for being insensitive, and Haru said she should be the one apologizing for yelling. Eika asked if something happened between Wataru and Natsukawa-san. She denied anything happened and hurried to class. Eika wondered if she had just received a love letter. Eika suggested they change their seating arrangements. Her classmate wondered if they were really changing seats now, and Eika poked him. Natsukawa-san thought that sometimes you struggle to find something you always had, but once you don't need it anymore, it magically appears. The story continues. The girl who collapses couldn't get what happened yesterday out of her head. Wataru thought that of course she'd be mistaken after seeing him in high school, and wondered if he was the only one who was treating it seriously the whole time. The girl who collapses thought she had been spoiled without realizing it, and didn't have the right to feel hurt. Wataru's sister told him they were done with that topic already, and warned him not to go there. Wataru's sister asked why he didn't read the letter he'd gotten, but he told her not to peek. The girl who collapses said it was just a quick message, and insisted it wasn't a love letter. Wataru's sister wondered why she was so relieved, and reminded herself that they were just normal friends. The girl who collapses thought that if someone received a letter, they would naturally assume it was a love letter, but this was actually a request for an exchange of contacts. The girl who collapses explained that Sasaki-san had been shocked to learn he'd already quit when she went to the bookstore where Ikeno-san worked part-time. So Sasaki-san had given her contact details through a letter via Ikeno-san, who had also exchanged contacts with her at the same time, although it felt like a love letter. The girl who collapses thanked Ikeno-san for the letter and said she'd already added her as a friend. She realized Wataru had exchanged contacts with Ikeno-san, and someone felt chills down their spine because of it. While he was basking in the afterglow of the letter, something started to turn for the worse, as the Cultural Festival Committee still hadn't submitted a single budget estimate report, and Wataru was told to check up on them so he could approve their budgets. He agreed to do it, reminding them to remember the budget estimates and to collect any other data that hadn't been submitted, and wondered if he was technically on a collection plan since the Cultural Festival Committee was mostly made up of seniors. Wataru apologized for his sudden intrusion at the Cultural Festival Committee, introducing himself on behalf of the Student Council, and asked about Hasegawa-senpai, the committee chairman, but a young man told him he was her younger brother. He said he understood that documents were ready for submission for the Student Council, but then he realized that all of the documents were handwritten. Wataru thought it was strange that their work wasn't going well, and wondered why the committee didn't inform the Student Council, and that despite what they were doing, the council was still in charge of their working environment. Wataru was told he could go back now, but then Keed suggested Wataru help them out, but Wataru wondered why they would ask for his help. Natsukawa-san explained that until last November, the student council had always been led by a student from families backing the school, mostly students from the West Side. Natsukawa-san didn't like talking about the topic, as it had something to do with the East and West Sides, and she didn't want Wataru too involved, since he was unrelated to all this, and something might happen to him. Hayato said that was fine, and that he would never associate with Wataru, and they should first compare and find the differences compared to last year, then start investigating, so Wataru was told he could go back for today. Wataru thought that the discomfort he felt from Natsukawa-san wasn't just his imagination, and that he wanted to remain ordinary and mind his own business, but he didn't think it was coming true anytime soon. The story continues. Wataru's sister ran into him and mentioned she had some stuff to give him. She asked if something had happened with Eika lately, because she had been acting weird since they changed seats and seemed uncomfortable. His sister thought it was weird for her to be friends with someone she dumped in the first place, but now she seemed more normal. She said Wataru's turn was long over, though she didn't think anything like that ever started. She apologized for keeping him and said goodbye. Wataru ended up collecting clothes and going to the Cultural Fest Committee. He thought Natsukawa-san and Sasaki should still be busy with work. Wataru was shocked to see Natsukawa-san. Wataru asked Sasaki why he even volunteered to be a committee member. A girl wondered what was wrong with Wataru, calling him creepy. Natsukawa-san claimed she was filling in for the guy who just left. She asked Wataru if the seat was taken. The sound of clattering echoed. Wataru's sister told Wataru that Sasaki didn't ditch her. She could tell even if the classmate beside him was struggling. She wondered why the goddess wore that expression, saying it was difficult to refuse when your seniors asked you to go with them. The next day, Wataru told Yuki-senpai he needed to tell her something important. He already had a goddess in mind. After what happened, the student council immediately started secretly investigating the case. They wondered if this was related to the Cultural Festival Committee incident. Ishiguro said they uncovered a lot of sinister stories and it was out of control. After discussing it with Renji, he decided to speak to Wataru, who asked why him. Ishiguro introduced himself as a second-year student, explaining his family's close ties with Hayato and his family, similar to Wataru's. Ishiguro got straight to the point, outlining three major problems: unfair actions by students from the West, the advisor to last year's Cultural Festival Committee, and the Cultural Festival Committee chairwoman, Hasegawa. Ishiguro explained that the first problem was the most significant, as this year's festival was run differently from the previous year, with records up to last year being concealed due to gray circumstances. He continued, saying that students from the West had been given preferential treatment and contributed to the community to repay their supporters, but the rise of students from the East covered it up. Last year, they deleted all the records of the cultural festival, including evidence of their activities, before the next student council took over. Ishiguro summarized the issues as unauthorized outsourcing and destruction of evidence, saying it would be good to recover the data, but they could only identify when it was erased, so they needed to rebuild everything. He said this related to Wanda, the advisor of the Cultural Festival Committee, which led to the second problem. Ishiguro stated that Wanda was the old guy everyone disliked. He conveniently declared he was siding with the East during the commotion last year, so Ishiguro left him alone, considering it their fault. Lastly, he mentioned the third problem, which was with the committee chairwoman. He explained that Hasegawa Tomoka was in love with Hanawa Renji from the student council, which was why the Cultural Festival Committee hadn't reported their struggles to the student council. Wataru's sister wondered if Hanawa knew about Hasegawa's feelings. She recalled Hasegawa mentioning Hanawa before and knew her sister would be angry if personal feelings affected performance. She understood why this was more serious than she imagined and suggested using outsourcing like their predecessors, revealing the student council had applied for a bigger emergency budget. He said he would take responsibility for Hasegawa falling for him and would use Hanawa's family's IT company as external collaborators. He added they would try to butter up advisor Wanda and shift the work process from handwritten to electronic. And finally, this was where Wataru came in. He wanted Wataru to act as a liaison and assist the collaborators and the students on site, a role Hasegawa was supposed to fulfill, but he wanted her to avoid contact with Keed. He said he understood Wataru's usefulness and didn't think there would be a problem. Wataru admitted there wasn't a problem, but he had been helping out in the past because of his sister, but he didn't have any real reason to do it now. He asked if there was someone serving as Wataru's motivation. He asked if Wataru would be satisfied if he pulled out now, joking that he might be his future brother-in-law, and told him this wasn't the time to be embarrassed, because this could make Natsukawa-san smile again. Wataru said he would do it, and Natsukawa-san realized he just didn't understand love. She thought to herself that she now understood why her sister hadn't fallen for this handsome guy, and that Wataru was on that side too. Natsukawa-san and Wataru's sister were interrupted by Ishiguro from the student council, who said he had come to inform them regarding something of great importance. Ishiguro announced that from today onwards, there would be a significant reduction of the preparatory work required, and he would now tell them the steps required to take. Wataru's sister seemed surprised to see Wataru. Ishiguro repeated that from today onwards, there would be a significant reduction of the preparatory work required. Wataru's sister realized that Wataru was Ishiguro's assistant. Wataru's sister asked if Natsukawa-san already knew and seemed upset. According to the two of them, there were a lot of problems impeding the prep work for the cultural festival this year, specifically the conflict with the previous year's student council, as well as Wanda Sensei's instructions on work needing to be handwritten. They said that in order to get back on the right track, they stopped working on documents by hand and started using laptops. Wataru's sister explained that Wataru and Ishiguro-senpai were liaising between students and external collaborators. She added that Wataru was amazing, even though he was still a freshman. Wataru's sister thought to herself that Wataru was helpful, unlike herself. Wataru's sister noticed that everyone's face brightened up and said that Wataru was amazing. Wataru's sister asked if everything was fine now. Natsukawa-san replied, asking if she didn't think so. Wataru's sister chuckled at her reply. Natsukawa-san said there was no point in getting worked up, and they should just move at their own pace. She was no longer anxious after seeing Wataru's usual self. She mentioned that he was acting as a temporary assistant for the student council and was envious of both Sasaki-kun and his sister. She guessed this meant he was working hard for his sister's sake. Ishiguro said if they could successfully outsource old work to the people from Hanawa Solutions, then it should all be good. He said next up was the manpower gathered by Hanawa-senpai, and that it was about time to meet with Hanawa-senpai and the others, so they should move to an empty classroom. Wataru's sister realized the Cultural Festival Committee was acting strange and accused Ishiguro of using Wataru, since he's just one of Yuuki's lackeys. Natsukawa-san warned that bringing outsiders into their mess would cause problems. The vice president told her to calm down because people were watching. Wataru's sister called out Wataru's name in shock. Wataru told his sister that she was misunderstanding and that he wasn't being forced to do anything because he decided to do this himself. Wataru's sister asked if he was being threatened and said if he was, then. Wataru was confused and said no. Wataru's sister told him to stop making her repeat herself and that she willingly decided to be there. She said she would not forgive him if anything happened. Wataru's sister asked about Wataru's, and Eika insisted she wasn't his, but that she would be leaving him in their care. Natsukawa-san told Wataru that they should go and wished him good luck with the meeting. After that, along with Ishiguro-senpai and Hanawa-senpai, they met up with the businessmen. Wataru said Hanawa-senpai was great, and although he was nervous, he managed to pull through. It was already dusk by the time the meeting ended. Wataru reflected that he was also part of the go-home club in middle school, and that the part-time job he readily took was also for the sake of Natsukawa-san. He wondered what kind of person he would have been if he hadn't met Natsukawa-san. The Cultural Festival Committee was back on track, and they were holding a trivia contest. It was time to start preparing for all the individual class exhibits. Natsukawa-san and Sasaki looked busy, and Natsukawa-san said that she and Sasaki were going to the meeting room. Natsukawa-san apologized for interrupting. Wataru said he still had some work left. Wataru thought that meetings with working adults were a chore for the student council, but he was grateful to Yuuki-senpai, and thanks to that, he could put in his best efforts. He realized he was working hard for Natsukawa-san. Someone announced that all the paperwork for the Cultural Festival Committee was complete. They suggested going to karaoke. Wataru was told there were some issues with finances. Natsukawa-san told him not to worry about the cleanup. Hanawa-senpai thanked Wataru for his help. Wataru thought that Hanawa-senpai must have been in a bad way to compliment him. Natsukawa-san told Wataru to focus on his classwork and leave the rest to her. Wataru thought he had succeeded in his original plan, but leaving halfway through was a bummer. He remembered he needed to return the laptop. Natsukawa-san wondered what Wataru was planning. Natsukawa-san complimented Wataru's good job. The story continues. Natsukawa-san realized Wataru wasn't even a member of the committee and wasn't doing it for his sister, so he was doing it for 0 rewards. She felt she was not worthy of his praise. Natsukawa-san was invited to the football club after being dismissed for the day. Natsukawa-san's friends suggested skipping work to watch the football club, but they decided to leave the rest of the work to the model students. They apologized to Natsukawa-san for what happened back then. Natsukawa-san replied that she shouldn't have responded so coldly in the first place and apologized for not acting mature. They revealed a first-year chewed Taka out. They mentioned Sasaki-kun got into a fight, or rather, someone vented at him. It turned out that first year was the younger brother of Etsuhai's queen, and they invited her to come with them to the club. Natsukawa-san wondered if she had anything she could devote herself to, like Sasaki-kun and the others. Natsukawa-san brushed off their apology, saying it had been a while since she saw something like that. She thought they were amazing, and that it was cool how they could work so hard for the club and each other. Natsukawa-san felt like there was nothing she had in comparison. Her friend pointed out that her grades were excellent and that she had worked hard for the cultural festival committee. Her friend mentioned that she was originally a replacement for Tabata-kun. She said that Wataru would know more about her than she did. Her friend quietly admitted that he had been in love with her for the longest time. Her friend restated that he has been in love with her for a long time. She stated that they were done with that sort of thing. She realized she neglected Wataru's feelings because she was preoccupied with taking care of her family, but now that he distanced himself from her, she felt anxious and lonely. She realized that Wataru was someone important to her. Natsukawa-san wondered if Wataru was with that senior from the student council, and admitted she was scared to talk to him. Wataru's sister asked Natsukawa-san why she had come, and if something had happened. Wataru's sister told Natsukawa-san that Wataru had already left, and offered to fetch him. Wataru's sister said that Wataru was in the room used by the cultural festival committee. She added that he had apparently forgotten to return his laptop and borrowed the key. Wataru's sister told Natsukawa-san to feel free to push Wataru around, since he can be a pain. Natsukawa-san thought she had been acting scary and hoped Wataru wouldn't mess things up. Wataru's sister asked what Wataru was on about, claiming the sun was in her eyes. She thought she wasn't worthy of being called goddess, and that she was only acting that way to meet everyone's expectations. She realized she had business with Wataru, but wondered why she couldn't speak up. Natsukawa-san asked if she had ever been helpful, such as with the cultural festival committee. She wondered why Wataru worked so hard, and for what reason he did it. Eika asked why he wanted to know so badly, but Wataru refused to tell her. Eika thought she had been taken aback, and that he didn't want to talk to her anymore. Wataru thought of a goddess. The story continues. The story continues. Wataru thought someone would take it from here. Eika reflected on an overflow of words and emotions. Eika realized it was autumn. Eika thought love brings about weakness. Eika considered that both the season and her heart had completely changed, and wondered if Wataru still liked her. The girl who collapses asked if Natsukawa was fine, and realized they were already there. The girl who collapses was glad everything worked out somehow, and told Natsukawa-san she'd see her tomorrow. Natsukawa-san apologized for stumbling a bit, and Wataru encouraged her. The girl who collapses thought Natsukawa-san was a tsundere to the end, and wondered if she liked Wataru. Natsukawa-san hoped Wataru would forgive her for what she was doing now, and said she'd see him tomorrow. The narrator reflected that Natsukawa-san ran away from things she didn't understand, including her feelings for Wataru. Natsukawa-san's actions were like a desperate confession, and she decided to take it as a lucky coincidence, wondering if she really just stumbled earlier. Wataru's sister asked how it went with Natsukawa-san. Wataru's sister thanked him for telling Natsukawa-san where she was. Wataru's sister asked who he was asking and said this and that were two totally separate things, asking how it went. Wataru's sister asked if he was really in a position to be concerned about others, and laughed, never thinking she'd have this kind of conversation with her brother. Natsukawa-san greeted Wataru and hoped she would be able to talk to him normally at school, and told him his tie was crooked. Wataru's sister also pointed out his hair was a mess, and Wataru insisted he could fix it himself, feeling like she was being really assertive rather than acting like her usual self. Wataru's sister said they were passionate this morning, and then said it was great that they were still in their summer uniforms because it was hot, telling Ashidai not to taunt her like that in front of her. She was relieved because he had seemed tired of love until recently. She said he did it and giggled. Wataru's sister asked if he wanted to eat outside since the weather was nice, and said that today's coming too, and asked if Sajaki had plans to eat with Ikano-san. She asked if that was just a spur-of-the-moment decision, and wondered what he meant by that, saying she was invited normally by Ikano-chan, and wondered what kind of weird thoughts he was having. She said they had been talking about work and stuff, so it just came up naturally, and said she was his first junior, so she worried. She asked why Wataru had the look of a proud father, and then said Papa wasn't bad. Wataru's sister called him Dimmy, and then Dummy, saying it was good, and said he was a dummy. She said it was nothing. Finally, the day of the 49th annual private Koetsu High School Cultural Festival arrived. Huki-chan asked where her brother was, feeling nervous. The fashion show took place in Volume 8 of the LN Koetsu Fashion Collection. Someone commented that Wataru's sister was very pretty. The story continues. Wataru realized that what awaited him upon awakening from the dream was a harsh and merciless reality. Wataru thought this was the kind of sister he liked most. Wataru's sister felt she had gotten a little closer to her original dream in the face of this reality. She asked what was wrong. Wataru's sister said it was good that they worked hard on the preparations and told Wataru, "You too." Wataru was ready to struggle, even though the harshness of reality remained unchanged. The narrator said, "A dreaming realist. Koetsu All-Night High School Cultural Festival." He thanked the reader for reading and said they looked forward to feedback and comments.